And we are back for another day of Podapolooza, raising money for a great cause in Mental Health America. And I have some fantastic guests leading us off. Before we get there, just want to remind everybody, keep donating. We have already raised over $4,800 for Mental Health America over the first day. Really appreciate everybody who's donated. It's going to go to an amazing organization that does a lot of good in this country, promoting and helping people get access to mental health care. And every dollar you donate gets you entered to win some amazing prizes over the rest of this weekend. So if you go to my Twitter on my pinned post, you'll see kind of a picture of today's schedule of all the prizes remaining to be given out. We got some new prizes added on. So if you checked yesterday, go back and check again. There might be other cool stuff that you want to be entered to win. You can donate by sending any amount to justinmasonfantasy@gmail.com on PayPal or at Justin Salinger on Venmo. I do have a fantastic panel to start off the morning today. And joining me first is Nate Markham. Nate, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Good to be back. How you doing?
It's great to see you. I feel like it's been way too long.
It has been. It's been almost exactly a year since we – probably it is a year since we did this last time. And we need to do this more often. Well, for my sake, maybe not for your sake.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do the whole day thing more often. But we got to get a Zoom going or something like that just to hang out. Remind everybody where you can be shot on social media and then plug everything that you do.
Sure. You can find me at Nate Markham. All my stuff's over at fantasyandframes.com. And if you want to listen in and find anything and everything about, I don't know why we started this, but we love it. We're relief pitching only this year. We started that niche. We're at Perfectly Framed. The L is actually a 1. We can't get a hold of the people that actually have the Perfectly Framed Twitter handle, but we're going to find them. We've had amazing guests. Ariel's been on with us, and hopefully everybody else here will join us and talk about the one area that some people think we're crazy for covering, bullpens.
Hey, you guys are crazy for covering it, but you're doing the Lord's work. I mean, I don't want to cover it. Like, I hate even just releasing relief pitcher rankings. It's just super, super frustrating. So you guys take it on so I don't have to. Also joining us today is Ariel Cohen. Ariel, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm doing well. Remind everybody where you can be reached on social media and then talk about what you do in the industry.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ATCNY. And I do the ATC projections. You can find them at Fangraphs and many other things. And excited to be here. I got my TGFBI T-shirt on. I'm ready for tomorrow.
Yep, we're almost 24 hours away from the start of TGFBI drafts kicking off. I can't wait. My wife could wait. She wants another few weeks to prepare. It's not going to happen. She better get ready today. Joining us. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Justin, I picked right after you, so I'm excited.
Oh, that's right. You and I are right next to each other. That could not have worked out worse for me. Joining us as well is Ryan Hallam. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Justin, thanks for having me back. Nate, good to see you. This seems to be a yearly thing for us.
It is. It's tradition.
Gonna pair you guys together forever. Ryan, remind everybody where you can be reached on social media and then plug everything you do.
On Twitter at Fighting Chance. As you can see there, I'm over at Fantasy Alarm. We just released our living draft guide, MLB draft cheat sheet yesterday. So that's like, unlike magazines and everything else, it's updated as things change. It's the #1 tool to crush your drafts on top of this podcast, of course. And also, they have the MLB guide over there and the mock draft army, who I think everyone could use. The mock drafts, it's like 3 or 4 nights a week. Follow Andy Spiteri, gas_spit on Twitter. He runs the schedule every week. I'm actually commissioning this Wednesday. He's a well-deserved week off, so I am running the show on Wednesday. So anyone who wants to jump in, I believe there's still a few spots available. So Fantasy Alarm, baby, for everything you need.
Hey, if you're not part of the mock draft army, some people like me, I don't do a lot of mock drafts because I'm doing regular drafts all off season. But not everybody can afford that, right? And not everybody wants to, manage that many teams in season. So if you need a mock draft army, place to go, because you're actually going to get people who take it seriously and finish out their draft. So, and that's hard thing to find in this time of year for mock drafts. Also joining us is Lucas Berry. Lucas, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you running this again, Justin. It's been awesome event that you've run the past 2 years, so love it.
Thank you. Remind everybody where you can be reached on social media and plug all your work.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at BeeryPlox33, just my last name, Plox33. You can find my written work at Casey Bubba's site, Fantasy Degens. Just put up a stolen base primer article the other day. And I also do a podcast with my partner Lou Landers, Lou Cast Baseball at Sports Crew Radio.
And Lou's going to be on, I believe, later today, so we'll get a chance to chat with him. Another great guy in the industry. And I'm getting a weird sound in the background, so I apologize for that. It's coming off Orion for some reason, so I just muted him for a sec. Bruce, welcome to the show.
What up, Justin? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Bruce is a buddy of mine, works with me over at Friends Fantasy Benefits. Remind everybody where you can be reached and talk about what you do.
You can find me at BCJR Fantasy on Twitter. Right for Justin, like you just said, at Friends with Fantasy Benefits. Right now, I got a little article series going on how to prep for the season. It's a little different than what other people are doing. I look at the game a little differently, I think. So my article series is more about how you need to look at yourself and analyze yourself. And it's funny that, I have this series going because it coincides pretty much right with what Justin has going for the donations, mental health. The very next article I have coming out is how maybe you should mentally approach the game and different things like that. Because I think a lot of problems that we have coming into this is our very beginning. It's mentally. We don't approach it correctly. We don't look at how we prioritize our time. So I want to change that. So that's what I've been talking about.
That's absolutely fantastic. And at the end of today, after all the panels are over, I'm hoping to have my wife on to kind of talk about how she's mentally preparing. So maybe I'll see if Bruce can come back on and help us with that. So I'll talk to him here in a little bit and see if we can work that out. So because the mental aspect of the game, it's there. I don't think people talk about what it's like to be in a draft and have to really, focus and stay calm and collected. TGFBI is a little different. It's a slow draft, but it can be nerve-wracking, especially when you're drafting next to Ariel Cohen. So what we're talking about today is we're going to talk about some old faces in new places, guys who have been traded or signed with new teams, and kind of talk about what we think their value is moving forward into 2021. Nate, I'll start with you on the first one. Nolan Arenado finally gets out of Colorado, but for some people, that's not a good thing. You're a Cardinals fan.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Ryan as well. Yeah. Ryan, during the FSGA drafts, I was listening to him and I said, you could just say you're a homer is the reason why you think he's going to be successful. And he wanted to say it. And so I'm going to take my platform and say that, honestly, that's the one reason I'm optimistic, because I want him to be. But it goes a little bit deeper, too. I think what's the first thing everybody talks about when he's leaving Colorado? Home road splits, right? So the one thing that I think is kind of untalked about is that sometimes it can be advantageous to the hitter to get out of Colorado. Sometimes pitch mix separation and the way they see and visualize the ball can be beneficial. If you look at Colorado Rockies hitters over the past, their strikeout rates at home has been, like the third best, but away it's the third highest, however you want to flip that around. And I think this could be an opportunity where I think the regression, if you want to call it regression, of what the expectations for Nolan Arenado going into the season might not be as strong as what many are expecting.
I completely agree. Ariel, what does ATC say about Nolan Arenado?
Yeah, ATC is a little bit down on him. We're talking no longer the 40 home run guy. We're talking now a 30 home run guy. No longer a 290 guy. He's a 270 guy. So that means that he's a 4 category guy, but he's not an elite 4 category guy. He's now no longer a first, second rounder. The one thing that I do think he might get an uptick in is runs and RBIs. I think with the solid St. Louis lineup, you could see that. But don't expect anything higher in terms of homer and batting average. The question is whether the market is higher than they should be. And I think the market really did downgrade him from Colorado appropriately. So I think he's a solid pick if you need that kind of blend. But I personally don't want to go for him this year because I think his profile, now that he's no longer elite in those categories, is repeatable somewhere else in the draft. So he's just not that interesting to me fantasy-wise in a draft.
Well, and Bruce lives in Colorado. He's gotten to see the goodness that has been Nolan Arenado for a very long time. But Bruce, when he leaves you and leaves Colorado, what do you think is going to happen?
So you're hurting my feelings. First off, I love Nolan. This is going to be Nolan slander, it sounds like, but I love him. And you take a look at him. Everything Ariel said, I agree with. But then when I look even closer, he's been outperforming his barrels. What I mean by that is he has more home runs than his barrels over the last few years, except for, 2020, he had 9 barrels and 8 homers. You go back to 2019, he had 34 barrels and 41 homers, 34 barrels and 38 homers in 2018, 40 barrels and 37 homers in 2017. You kind of see the trend I'm saying with those barrels and home run rates. Okay, most players don't do that. The players that do that are like the guys who really take advantage of ballparks, the good ballparks, But then to do it consistently year after year after year after year, it's hard. But now we take in Coors Field is great for a bunch of things. I get it. Not always home runs, not for all hitters, in my opinion. It's good for BABIP, big park, big outfield. But now we're going to St. Louis, and I'm not great with ballpark factors. I just go look at the people who are great with them, and it's not good. No. It's a pretty big drop off just to go from Coors to there. And then you mix in the fact that his barrels had dropped over the last few years. He had, his prime, he was hitting a lot more barrels, 41, 43, 40. When you hit that many barrels, you can generate more home runs. You generate better things. As soon as the barrels start dropping off, 34. Take a look at that, though. I mean, that's in full season still. Now, last year, things are looking good when you take a look at, some things. His K percentage dropped. But I don't like certain things. His isolated power drops, like, hard. It's a steep drop-off. And I get it. Nolan has a history of doing better. I think he played last year with a shoulder injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't like getting guys that played. There's a lot of great research out there saying we don't want to draft those guys who actually play a season hurt. They play through the injury because they have kind of a bad season the next year. They are the ones that can get hurt more long term because they didn't stop and fix the problem. So some of the numbers look good. The projections look okay with 36 home runs, from the bat, 33 from Bat X, 30 from ATC. I think that might be your highest. 30, 33 might be your best case scenario. I think we could see a big fall off.
All right, Lucas, someone asked who's the guy with a great lock. So it's time for you to answer. What are you doing with Nolan Arenado this year?
I think the people who are fading really hard on Arenado, I don't really agree with that. I also do think that his upside will be capped. But in that round 4, if you have some steals and you have a pitcher, he's perfectly fine to add to your foundation of your team. This is one of the hardest working players in the game. I think that he's going to do everything possible to rehab that shoulder and get right. And he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to really come out with a bang in St. Louis, his new home. So if you look for a 265 to 270 batting average, hopefully 90 on the runs and ribbies, and 30 to 32, 33 homers, the problem is that early on I'm looking more for steals. So that's my only beef with him, but he's a solid player.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on Arenado? Yeah, turn it off mute.
I'm on now.
You're good.
Like Nate said, I just took him, so obviously I'm still high on him. And it's not just my fandom. The guy's been a top 5-6 pick for a number of years. He has elite skills. I think we're overrating the park factor here. Fourth round, I just think it's ridiculous of where he's going. I took him late second in a 14 teamer, and I was happy with it. I got beat up a little bit on the Sirius broadcast, but I just think the guy's one of the best hitters out there. Yeah, the lack of steals is a problem, but that's pretty much across the board in MLB anymore. I think he's going to have a big year. I don't see a huge drop off just because he left Coors.
Yeah, I mean, we see this every time someone leaves Coors. There's this, oh no, he's not going to have the big outfield. Oh no, the BABIP's going to go down. It all equals itself out in the end. I mean, how's DJ LeMahieu doing since he left Coors? Corey Dickerson left and he was fine. When Corey Dickerson left, I wrote a really long research piece on the effects of hitters leaving Coors. And it's just like Nate said, their home numbers come down, their road numbers come up because pitches move differently in Coors than it moves anywhere else. The biggest concern for me with Arenado is the shoulder. If the shoulder's not healthy, he's not going to hit for the power. If the shoulder's healthy, I think he's a 280 hitter with 35 home runs in a pretty darn good lineup in St. Louis. So I'm not super worried about it as long as he looks healthy in spring training. I've kind of tempered getting my shares right now until I see him in spring training games. But once we see him, I think he's a full go. He should be a third-round pick to me. But if you wanna avoid it because of the lack of stolen bases, I get that. Those are hard to get, and typically people want to get them early.
I also think there could be a factor of actually being in an environment where they're actually winning games. I think towards the end of the season, if you're 50 and 90, it's got to probably going to be a little tough for that motivation factor. So I think St. Louis should be at worst in line for the division title, if not the wild card, with a couple moves they made. So hopefully, the culture there and the fans there, everyone raves about it. Matt Holliday did pretty well when he came to St. Louis. I think Arenado's going to be all right.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals fans are the ones who rave about the Cardinals fans. Let's be honest there.
Whoa.
Before I start a riot on the first segment of Podapolooza, let's move on to Marcus Semien. Dude's been one of my favorite guys for a long time. 2020 was disappointing for him, but going to be hitting probably second in a great lineup in Toronto, or they'll actually be in Dundee, Florida, but it's still a pretty decent place to hit. Ryan, what are you doing with Marcus Semien?
I'm actually really high on most of the Blue Jays. I was listening yesterday when you guys were talking about Springer. I was all in there. I like a lot of the changes they did. Not being on the turf in Toronto is a good thing. I think Semien, shortstop is very deep, so I'm getting bad mouthed in the chat here. Shortstop's very deep, so if you don't go for one of the the elite guys, I think he's a really good option. He's someone that I could target later in drafts. And Yancey, your ass is going down. Can I say that on here?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure, no problem. I'm not streaming it on Fangraphs this year because apparently that's more difficult to do with YouTube videos. Okay, Yancey's correcting my pronunciation. It is Dunedin. All right, there we go. Thank you, Yancey. I appreciate it. If I pronounce things wrong, players' names, analyst names, please correct me. Don't be afraid to do that because I want to get it right. Lucas, what are you doing with Marcus Semien this year?
With Semien, it's really about his price. I mean, the skill set is one that I like to add on to my teams, but he's going top 125 with this shift. Now, the multiple eligibility, if he can get that, will be quite helpful for him. But 24, 25 homers, maybe 10 to 11, 12 steals, and a non-incredible OBP. I'm not really looking to buy him, but if he slips a round or two, and I do need to add a bit more pinching of steals, the thing that will help his run scored obviously is going to be that elite, if not one of the best lineups in the American League with Toronto. But the lack of supreme OBP, I think, can temper that down a little bit. But he's okay. It's just a little bit richer than I'm willing to go at that point.
Bruce, are you buying back in on Marcus Semien?
Yeah, no, at his price, I think he's fine. I think his profile's okay for me. I'll take the total production he gives kind of everywhere. I know top 150 is a little rich potentially, but then I look at it, for me, it's who would you rather have in that position, him or like Gleyber Torres? Glaber's going a lot higher than he is, and they're pretty much the same if you look at their projections. I mean, look at I'm not the hugest believer in Gleyber, but we're a year removed away from Semien going 33, 123, 92 and 10 with a 285. I get it. That's a huge spike, and that's probably an outlier season. But if you take a look, he regressed like he should have in most cases. Maybe the average dipped down a little low, but so was the BABIP. So it kind of will even back out, and he's fine where he's going. So I'd rather grab him. Shortstop's a position that I'll take, a couple of these types of guys here if I can, and build a good shortstop middle infield there. I think him, getting second base will actually be really helpful in season, because then you want to toss him in second at that point, because second might be pretty trashy.
Ariel, what are your thoughts on Semien?
So other than batting average, he's actually higher than the average player pool in every other four categories, right? He'll give you some steals, he'll give you some homers, he'll give you some, and his best quality is his runs. So I think the biggest question, though, is where is he going to bat in that Blue Jays lineup? If he's going to bat second in the lineup, he's a fantastic bargain, because they're going to score a lot of runs. He scored 123 runs in Oakland in the 2019 season, and he's going to do something like that if he bats second. If he bats sixth, not as much. So I think part of it is whether he's worth the value is, do we think he's going to bat here and there? I think they're going to go with him batting sixth or seventh in the lineup. I think they're going to try to put Kevin Biggio a little bit higher and do that. But, in terms of the value, very low profile risk. He's not going to hurt you in any category, right? Because he's a value somewhere. If he's available at the spot, and I don't have a shortstop, he's a consideration for me.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, where is he going to bat in that lineup? Because it is super, super right-handed, right? There's only two lefties in that lineup, and one of them is Rowdy Tellez, who's, we don't know if he's going to play every day. And Kevin Biggio is still kind of an unproven player at this point in his career. Nate, what are you doing with Semien?
I mean, I kind of take pieces from what everybody else has said too. And I mean, it is, like Ariel said, that 2 spot versus 6 or 7 spot. And you look back at 19 and, that K rate had dropped so significantly. I wonder if that's an outlier. And if it is, hitting second obviously is going to do a lot more for him to see quality pitches, which might keep that, in that 13% range where he was at versus that 20% range historically. But like you said, second base eligibility at pick 125, you're looking at around, what Tommy Edman's going right there. I personally would probably, even though I like Tommy Edman, I'd rather have Semien hitting second than Edman potentially wherever he's going to be hitting our lineup.
Getting some breaking news. Kevin Biggio leading off today. Today is the first day of spring training games. I appreciate people coming and hanging out with us and watching, but I also understand if you got a game on in the background, you got a game on in the background. Just keep donating, right? So, raising money for Mental Health America today. Great organization. Appreciate everybody who continues to donate. Going to give away some prizes here in a little bit. Here, I'm going to finish off on Marcus Semien real quick. Marcus Semien's been my boy for a number of years. I was big on him before the breakout, and I continue to be big on him. My whole thing is, he's going 20 picks almost behind Dansby Swanson in online championship drafts over the last month. What's the difference? Except for 20 picks of ADP. He's going behind Gleyber Torres, like Bruce said. He's going behind Javier Baez. He's going by Carlos Correa, who can't stay on the field. If we're comparing him to those guys, I'm taking him every time, especially with that added second base eligibility in season. All right, we're gonna move on to a guy we've talked a little bit about already this weekend, but he's a fun guy to talk about, and I've already expressed my opinion on Trevor Bauer. But my question to you, Lucas, is what do you think about Trevor Bauer in his new home in LA?
Oh, personally, with Trevor Bauer, I'm cool mixing in a share or two, but he's had quite a bit of variance. At the end of the day, the dude has always put up the incredible strikeouts. So that's going to give you a little bit of a floor. He's been able to stay healthy outside of the leg issue. The fact that he moved to Los Angeles, I think, is going to put him in the first round for most leagues, because I think people are going to see that win potential and feel good about it and think, hey, if the best team in baseball gave him this much money, I'm good with it too. So there could be a little bit of appeal to authority there in addition to win context. And I'm good with a few shares, but I'm not necessarily loading up.
Yeah, I've said all weekend long, I just can't pay a first or really even second round price on a guy I don't trust. Ariel, is this a guy you trust?
So here's the thing about Trevor Bauer and in general 2021 season. The biggest question mark is how many innings are pitchers going to pitch, right? There are some teams that say we're going to take whatever innings you pitched last year and add 100 and cap you there. I don't have that fear about Trevor Bauer. I think the Dodgers are going to win the division by 18 games. They're just going to let him throw and throw and throw. He wants to throw every 4 days. If you do the math, for every 2 innings that a pitcher pitches at that elite level, it's like another $1 in an auction value kind of a valuation system. So because of that, he's very interesting and he has to be thought of, even though, yes, he's not going to be as good as he was in the NL Central when he pitched it against nobody, although he is going to a good park and playing some bad teams. Sure, you can take yes, he was lucky last year, but he's going to pitch, and he does have the strikeouts, and he does have a good enough profile. So he has to be a consideration. I would not pick him in the first round. I think there are better pitchers, but you have to consider him as something stable because of the innings this year. That's the name of the game.
Bruce, are you buying in on Bauer this year?
Personally not. He would have to probably fall down to his max pick that I see in DC's right now over the last 3 weeks of 22 for me to be in. Part of it is I see that he had good ratios last year, but I also see that he had, high left on base percentage. The home run per 9 wasn't as low as I really wanted it to be for all of that. The BABIP was super low. Yeah, his strikeouts are going to be there, but he has a good CSW and has had a good CSW. So, of course, he's going to have good Ks. Ariel's right. The innings are a big thing, but the ballpark's nice. I like that too. Dodgers cool. But overall, he's only had one other real year where he had good ratios. And I mean good ratios. A 4.2 ERA plus is not good. A 1.25 whip is not good. That does not help you. You really are suffering with that. And if you're taking him in the first 2 rounds, and at this point, it's not the first 2 rounds, it's the first 16 picks. No, I'm not doing it. I'm with I'm with Ariel. I can find other pitchers I like better. His pitches are fine, yes, but we already know he tweaks all of that. They should be good. They're going to be good. But can he produce the ratios you are paying for? I'm a little skeptical.
Nate, are you skeptical?
I'm skeptical. I'll tell you, the person who made a point that Nick Pollock mentioned one time, that what if the Dodgers are reluctant to let him use his hypothetical stickiness that he may have been using in the past, just because they don't want to be clumped into that. And what if that does eliminate some of that elite spin rate? And what if that does revert back to some of those inconsistencies? Is that something when you're investing a top, like we said, top 15 pick? I don't like those fluctuations in the unknown. That kind of worries me, harkening back to Arenado with the shoulder injury. I don't see this as an injury, but I see this as a potential cause for that bottom to kind of drop out to an extent.
I mean, I don't know that I buy that the Dodgers would do that. They're not going to sign a guy for $40 million or whatever he got, per year, and then tell him, hey, the thing that made you good, don't do that anymore. Right. We want to win, but we want to win the right way. They all want to just win. They don't care about winning the right way. The whole outrage over the Astros thing, everybody wasn't doing something similar. Maybe not to the extent the Astros were doing, but that everybody wasn't doing something like that is just, it's laughable at best. But, my concern is what if he just goes back to who he was in 2019? It was just 2 months. Ryan, are you buying in this small sample?
No, I'm completely out on Bauer, especially as his ADP. I don't think I'll have him on any teams this year. And everyone else has kind of said the same thing, but I'm going to actually go against Ariel a bit with the innings. The Dodgers are going to win the division, or at least be in the playoffs without question. And they've invested in this guy for a long time, so maybe they will. They have Gonsolin, they have May, they have other guys that can definitely step in and start. Of course, there'll be injuries during the season, so I mean their depth clearly will be tested. But especially towards the end of the season, when we get towards the playoffs, and we get the fantasy playoffs, and maybe they do limit him a little bit. The other thing I kind of don't like about him is, and going to LA, I don't know how this is going to be a factor, but he likes attention. And if things aren't necessarily going his way, we saw him throw the ball over the center field fence. I feel like he is like teetering on the brink of something, he has a couple bad starts snowballing. It's the whole thing with the decision that he wanted to be like LeBron and all this garbage, selling Mets hats on his site right before all this is just, I don't know. I don't like the makeup of him. Pitching is a science. It's just the ADP and these other small factors. I just can't pull the trigger on this guy. I don't think I'll have him on any teams this year.
All right. What we're doing today is raising money for Mental Health America. Every dollar you donate to either my PayPal, justinmasonfantasy@gmail.com, or my Venmo @Justin Salinger. It's on that little ticker down below if you're watching live or watching later. Will be donated to Mental Health America, and every dollar you donate gets you a raffle ticket to win some amazing prizes. And we're going to give away a prize right now. So let's see. We have... Hey, I think Nate is giving something away. So, Nate, why don't you talk about that real quick?
I am. I have a signed Bobby Crosby Rookie of the Year ball that I believe, if last year's any indicator, last year I gave away a Steve Garvey signed baseball, and it is 100% guaranteed as of now that you will win the DC overall, because Rob DiPietro won the baseball last year. So donate right now. Donate another $1,000. Get your chance to win. Well, Bobby Crosby. Sorry, but the DC's worth about $30,000, so it's much more valuable than baseball.
Right?
Who's going to win the draft champions overall? Let's see.
There we go. I'm going to randomize it right now. And Mike Donofrio. And I apologize if I butchered your name.
Congratulations, Mike.
I will pass your information on to Nate. You guys can work out getting that to him. And congratulations, Mike, on winning the draft champions overall. That is clearly the best part about this. And then we've got another prize to give away as well, a pitcher list hoodie from Kevin Hastings, I believe. I want to double check. Yes, from Kevin Hastings and Curtis Jones. Congratulations. Curtis also won Pitcher List Plus for a month. So now he's got the apparel to go with it. Appreciate everybody who's donated prizes, everybody who's donated money, everybody like you guys who's joined me on this live stream over the course of the last 2 days now. So it's been amazing. We've raised a ton of money for charity. Currently, we have raised $4,868.75, trying to beat last year's total of just over $6,000. For every $1,000 that gets donated, I'm going to add a TGFBI spot for next year. So we're pretty close to adding that fifth one. Please keep donating and helping us raise a lot of money for a great cause. I want to give you guys another opportunity to remind everybody where you can reach the social media and then plug your work, so that way we don't run out of time at the end of the segment. So, Nate, remind everybody where you can be reached on social media and then plug what you do.
Sure. At Nate Markham. It's at the bottom there. My work can be found over at fantasyinframes.com. Our relief pitcher rankings, relief pitcher articles, relief pitcher, everything. You can also listen to our podcast at Perfectly Framed. The L is a 1. That is Aaron Pags and myself. If you have any questions about anything to do with relief pitching, please follow, like, comment, subscribe with the other stuff that you're supposed to say for podcasts.
Ariel, remind people where you can reach on social media and plug everything you do.
You can find me at ATCNY. I'm on Fangraphs, Rotoballer, CBS Sportsline, and you can listen to my podcast, Beat the Shift.
All right, Bruce, remind everybody where you can reach and what you do.
You can find me at BCJR Fantasy, and just started a podcast on Friends with Fantasy Benefits with Greg Blankenship and Ben Brennis. So come check us out. We're diving in about strategy, about NFBC leagues, some other points leagues, stuff like that, best balls, things of that nature. So come check us out.
All right, Lucas, remind people where you can be reached and what you do.
Yeah, you can feel free to hit me up on Twitter at BeeryPlox33. Written work is at Fantasy Degens, and have a fantasy baseball, but we hit up other topics too, such as signings, off-season, real-life moves. Lou Cass Baseball with my partner Lou Landers. That's over at Sports Crew Radio.
And Ryan, where can you reach and what do you do?
I am at Fantasy Alarm. My Twitter, again, is at Fighting Chance. as I said in the beginning, please follow Andy Spiteri at GasDoc_spit. Get in with the mock draft army. It's the best way to get ready for your drafts. You can listen to all the podcasts and everything. But like Justin said in the beginning, being prepared for your draft is really the best way to knock it out of the park, where you're not have that 5 seconds and your heart starts pounding and everything. But if you've done 5 or 6 mock drafts coming into it, you know what your strategy is, you know the guys you want. And really, that's the best way to come out on top. So, Mock Draft Army, Fantasy Alarm, that's the tool for you.
All right. We're going to go back to some more old faces, new places. And let's talk about Alex Colomé. Signs a deal to be pitching. We think the closer in Minnesota. Are we sure the closer in Minnesota, though, Ryan?
I don't think it's definitely a certainty. Whoever that relief pitching site, God bless you. I think this year is going to be the biggest disaster yet as far as saves and closers. I mean, last year was crazy in just 60 games, and I think even more teams muddied their situation. I mean, it was good for them because they had more than one good option, but muddied the situation as far as fantasy baseball. And I think Minnesota is definitely one of them. And that's, they're actually not a bad team, so it's going to be really tough. Between Colomé and Rogers, I think they both can do the job. I don't know that I'm fully confident either one can do the job. So this is a tough one for me to nail down.
Lucas, I mean, Alex Colomé is a guy who is perpetually underrated. So I get why people are underrating him this year. Is he going to grab that job? Is he someone you're willing to draft?
So to kind of add on to Ryan's point, you've got the manager Rocco Baldelli, comes from the Tampa Bay school. I think he wants to mix and match, but we also know that a manager does usually kind of feel pretty good whenever he has a guy that gets onto a roll. Like you said, Alex Colomé is incredibly underrated. Since 2016, when he became a full-time reliever, this is a guy that's converted 138 out of 156 attempts. I think that if he can get an opportunity, he's going to be effective. Yes, people are worried that his skills aren't that great. He's not sexy. And sabermetrically, he's got some things that don't make him appealing, but it's my guess is as good as anybody's, but I would say it's a 2/3 timeshare, 25% to Taylor Rogers and another 10% to a Tyler Duffy or Hansel Robles, whoever else is hot.
All right. My wife is woken up, so everybody's saying hi. Danielle, there you go. She's doing great work, tweeting out everybody who's going to be on and stuff. So if you're not following her at Mrs. D Salinger, you're missing out. So definitely go follow her, especially because she can do all the tweeting today while I'm here hanging out with you guys. Bruce, what are you doing with Colomé? You drafting him?
I haven't drafted him yet, but I need to change that. Coming into this, I think, almost like prejudiced against him because he doesn't have any of these sexy stats. But in reality, when I look at him over the last 3 years, his stats are like ridiculously sexy. As a whole, when we take a look, everything's very good. He's better than Taylor Rogers in the last 3 years in swinging strike rate. People don't think about that. We talk about how he doesn't get Ks. Over the last 3 years, though, since 2018, 8.5 K per 9, and he pitches a lot, but a 2.62 ERA, 1.1 whip. K minus walk rate. That's what everybody loves, 14.7. It's not great, but that's not a scoring category. The ERA and whip is the saves. The 54 save count is, and then you go take a look at other things. Ground ball rate, 46.8%. Home run per 9, 0.83%. 0.83%. Or 0.83, sorry. I have a percent. I look at that. But 0.83, that's right. Left on base, 75%. Beautiful. I don't, there's nothing wrong with this. 13.7% swinging strike rate. I love that. First pitch, almost 60%. Contact, 73%. This is all stuff that is beautiful when you wrap it together. He should have the closer job, and I believe they actually grabbed him for it. He's a righty. I'm going to start drafting him.
Are we
All right.
talking Justin Mason in a one-piece sexy, that kind of numbers? Or
No, nobody is that sexy.
The
Ariel,
all day.
Ariel, what are you doing with Alex Colomé?
Well, first of all, good morning to you, Danielle, over there. Great series, by the way, with Justin on the TGFBI podcast. Really must listen to shows here. So I think that Lucas nailed this. I think that this is the Tampa Bay Rays. We're talking about Gardenhire here. We're talking about a team that decided to cut Eddie Rosario, even though he is well worth the money, but they've got a cheaper option
Right.
in Krylov to come. So it's the pinching pennies. It's the let's mix and match. You're going to get some Colomé. You're going to get some Rogers. It's going to turn into the Tampa Bay bullpen. That's what it is. It's going to be a timeshare. Is Colomé good enough to be the closer? Yes. Is Rogers? Yes. So is all the Tampa Bay guys. It's going to turn into a situation. So if you want to pay a high or a draft price for 2/3 of the saves, go ahead. I would rather speculate on somebody in the Detroit Tigers bullpen who will get the role, will cost me next to nothing. That's my view on whether you should draft a Colomé or not.
All right, Nate, you're the bullpen guy. Tell me what I should be doing with Alex Colomé.
I don't know. I have no.
go to that site right now. For
that is
kind of
go.
analysis.
Link, subscribe, where you can get dynamite analysis like that. I do agree that Lucas, pretty much my prediction, if you want to call it that, projection, I guess, is 55, 35, and 10, at 10% being Tyler Duffy, who I really like. I wish they had never signed Colomé because I think he could have turned in. Because last year, Rocco did is Taylor Rogers was pitching in the 7th inning in games. After August 11th, he never had another save opportunity. He was pitching 7th and 8th exclusively. He was unlucky last year. Taylor Rogers was pretty unlucky, so some of the numbers might be a little skewed. But as a whole, Colomé's done one thing, is he's outproduced his skill set consistently, and it doesn't make any sense. But if I'm looking at a muddy water situation, I would personally much rather wait, even as crappy as it may be. I could get Jordan Hicks 70 picks later, and I think that's not that much further off. Plus, I'm getting about 40% more strikeouts. Not that that's everything, but it does go into that equation. Or like Ariel said, that Detroit, Joe Jimenez type situation, or Cisnero, or in Soto or Garcia. Yeah, why the hell did I do relief pitching again? So
some people are into pain,
Yeah, that's to them.
If bullpens are your kink, I'm not gonna kink shame you. So
Great. Like Danielle with the spreadsheets, I'm the same way with muddy relief pitcher waters. Ugh.
All right, we're gonna just do some quick hits here to wrap it up. I'm just gonna tell me, are you buying, or I'm gonna tell you the player. You're gonna tell me, are you buying or are you selling? Andres Jimenez gets traded in that Lindor deal to Cleveland. Are you buying, Nate?
Yes, at the ADP before it continues to go up.
All right, Ariel, is ATC buying?
ATC is not too volatile. Who knows if he's going to start in the majors? Speculate elsewhere.
Bruce, you buying on Andres Jimenez?
I bought once and I'm not going to buy again. It was early, so no.
All right, Lucas, you buying on Jimenez?
He's going inside the top 160 in February draft champions. I need more proven skill sets there and more run producers.
Ryan, are you buying on Jimenez?
I'm with everybody else. The price tag is a little too much for me. I know, not that I don't mind the player, but not where he's going.
I'm buying and just praying that he's not going to get sent down by Cleveland, who's another one of these teams that are penny pinchers and don't care about winning as much as they care about saving a buck. So I'm buying, I believe, love that multi-positional eligibility. All right. Are we buying Archie Bradley as the closer in Philadelphia, Nate?
No. Nope, not full time. I still see it muddy. Nope. I there's one name that I hate, and he's the bane of my existence, is Brandon Kinsler. And somehow or another, he's going to work his way into crappy skill sets, earning saves.
Ryan, are you buying on Bradley?
I mean, he's going so late as a speculative guy, possibly, but like Nate just said, they just have a number of also crappy guys who might take the job. So he's basically free kind of at the end of towards the end of draft. So if you want to take a shot, he's okay. But I don't think there's any chance he holds the job for the whole season.
Lucas, buying or selling Bradley?
Sell.
Oh,
I just think the bullpen is it's just the bridge to get there. I know they improved it a little bit, but you factor in that they could potentially blow his leads, and we don't even know if he has the job. 240 is a decent price, but I would rather go elsewhere.
Bruce, you buying or selling?
I'd only buy him in a draft and hold, and in that way, I'd be taking the whole entire bullpen. I try to get 2, 3, 4 of these guys, and just I'll get the saves that way. That's the only way I'll probably buy him.
All right, Ariel, save me here. Save me.
I'm going to buy at the price. He's going pick 250. Why would you speculate on Colomé earlier? Speculate on Bradley. If he's the guy, he's going to get just as many saves.
All right, we got to move on to the next segment. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to boot you out unceremoniously and move on to the next crew. And there we go. And we are joined by a bunch of fantasy analysts right now. If I can click the proper links, and there we go. Bringing in a new crew. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Really appreciate you having me on.
Remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug everything that you do.
Sure. I am Nicky Tapas71. You see my Twitter handle below. I am on Rotoballer. I primarily cover the Mets desk for Rotoballer MLB, and I do assorted fantasy baseball articles for Rotoballer as well. Before that, I was with Fantasy Pros for a few years, and just happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. Sean, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's awesome to see what happens at the very end of the show where you unceremoniously boot everybody.
Yeah.
So I know what to look forward to now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to do it more gracefully than that. It's just a matter of like, goodbye, I'm taking you out. I'm bringing in the next crew. You guys have done your job, and now it's time to bring in the next part of the bullpen on Podapolooza. Art, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for putting this on. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug all your work.
My Twitter is art_T_Z. I do a show weekly every Saturday. Triple Play Fantasy Baseball show comes out. I write for SP Streamer, and we're on the our show is on the Fantrax network.
Sean, did you plug your work?
Twitter handle is going to be at Sean Flannery 13. I write for MetsJunkies.com as well as podcasts over on the Life Group Podcast Network on Facebook at Baseball Life on the Total Bases podcast, where we try and blend a little bit of real life baseball with fantasy baseball and some deep dive analytics.
All right, and Paul, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Justin. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on. You guys can find me on Twitter at PMaminoFantasy, and a lot of my work right now you can find at rotofanatic.com.
And Carlos, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. Just happy to be here. And you can find my crazy ideas somewhere in Twitter at CA Marcano. And sometimes I write for a Pitcher List, 6-man rotation, and Prospects 365.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Today we are talking about some pitching busts. So I asked you guys to pick 3 pitchers each to that you're going to fade this year because you either think they're not going to return value or they're going to bust. And so I'm going to start with you here, Carlos. Who is your first pitcher bust?
Okay, this is a touchy subject, but so I'm gonna get with the. I think it's gonna be the hottest take on this with Zach Gallen. I know there's a lot of people loving him. I'm just going to put a disclaimer. It's all about ADPs and return of value. And I don't think he's bad at all. just let me put that over there. I just think that I could get some better value. I checked on his ADP for February on DC, and he's around the 14th pitcher taken with an ADP of 38. I think you should wait for Corbin Burns if you're getting into that place, and he hadn't been taken because he's going a little bit later there. Gallen is not getting a K minus BB of more than 20%, which if you are going to get a pitcher that high, it should go, a little bit higher in that category. I also like to get some pitchers that when you add their O swing and their zone percentage, it's are more than 76%, and he's not, for the past 2 years he's been lower than that. So I'm a little worried about the expectation on him. It's a little too high for that price.
You did start off just shooting out fire right there, going after one of my favorite guys, going after a lot. The look on the panel's face when you said Zach Gallen was just perfect. So
I needed to take it out early, so
just get it away, knock us all over, and then we'll have to recover throughout the rest of the segment. Paul, who's your first guy?
First guy I have, and I mean it's probably not as bold as Carlos's pick, but is Walker Buehler. And for me, it's mostly just a volume kind of thing. I think that the biggest losers in a sense of the Trevor Bauer signing are probably him and Kershaw, because them having a third ace makes it a lot easier for them to kind of manage their innings, skip over some of their innings things. So, I mean, I don't see a reason for me. Buehler's an incredible talent, but I'm just not betting on the innings totals for, where he's going, which is pitcher 7.
All right. Art, who's your first guy?
Kenta Maeda is my first guy, and I don't think that he had his best season last year as far as statistically. I don't think we're paying full price for last season. There is a little bit of discount. If we were paying for last season, he'd actually be going higher. But when I look at last season, I look at someone whose BABIP was 208 last year. His left on base percentage was much better than it's ever been. Both of those are much better than it's ever been. I could see a return to mid to high 3s ERA and return to statistics more in line with his 20% K minus walk rate. So where he's going right after him, 3 guys who I'm into more than him, like Lance Lynn, Zach Plesac, Carlos Carrasco. Those guys I would rather take over him. I just think that when he's going to throw 155, 150, 160 innings pitched, maybe get 175 Ks and maybe a 3.6 or 3.7 ERA. That's just not good enough for where he's going. I'd rather get more volume with a guy like Lynn, or perhaps some better ratios with Plesac and or perhaps Carrasco.
I mean, I think next year we're definitely not doing busts, because all you guys are doing is crapping all over the teams I've already drafted this year. And I'm sitting here going, this is supposed to be a fun event that raises money for a really good cause. And I'm just sad. So, Nick, just keep the train going. Go crap on someone else I like.
Zach Wheeler, how's that?
No, I'm okay with that. I don't even know what to make of Zach Wheeler. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I'm definitely fading him. He's got an ADP of 95 right now. He saw a huge drop in his K rate last year, as well as his whiff rate, and his walk rate was elite. But I mean, we're talking about Zach Wheeler, so I'm not sure if that was for real. His numbers also were supported by a huge improvement in his ground ball rate and overall launch angle. And again, I think he pitched 70 innings or so. I'm not really sure that it was for real. So with Wheeler, I'm really looking to what he did in 2019 with kind of a decrease in the K rate that he had in 2019. So he just had Ariel on, and I think his numbers were about right. I think we're looking at probably like a 4 ERA for Wheeler with less than a K, 9K, 1 strikeout per inning sort of rate. So not at an ADP of 95. Again, he's not going to be horrible, but where he's going right now, I don't think he's going to return that value.
And I think we've forgotten, too, that this was a guy that struggled with injuries all throughout the minors. One of the reasons it took him a while to get up, struggled with the injuries when he first got to the majors. So, there's also injury risk baked into that. This is a guy that, as draft season keeps going on, I keep finding myself fading him more and more. And I need to update my ranks to show that. Sean, who's your first guy?
I'm going to double up on what Mamina said. I'm picking Walker Buehler, partially in due to the, their depth that they have, as well as the volume issues. You've heard a lot of teams talking about just tacking on 100 innings to what they got through last year. Walker Buehler only threw 36 and 2/3 innings last year. So if you had 100 of that, that's less than 140 innings. I'm taking the under on 150 innings with him. Josiah Gray, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May. They have insane depth that, maybe if his blister does start bothering him again like it did in 2020, they do one of those famous Kenta Maeda Phantom IL stints, and he's gone for 2 weeks. And they just let him rest, recover, and then he comes back, and in his first start, he probably only goes 2 or 3 innings, and that happens 1 or 2 times over a season, and you really start to see some volume hits. So Walker Buehler is my number 1 fade, especially as the number 6, number 7 starting pitcher off the board. I'm more in tune to get him in a pocket ace strategy where I get Jacob deGrom and then him, which I did in the relegation draft. I'm not sure if anyone in here said it, but I ended up getting him as pocket aces. So him as a SP2 I love, but if he's my SP1, I'm a little worried.
Yeah, I mean, I love Walker Buehler from a straight skills perspective, but it is kind of hard to buy in on him having a huge innings jump, especially after having a hard time getting loose last year. But I love the skills, man. I remember I was one of his first outings as a reliever when he first came up in San Francisco, sitting right behind home plate, and I just fell in love. And so it's hard for me to fade him, but you guys may be right on that one. Go ahead, Sean. Give me just another one.
Jose Barrios, and he is just a guy that I've never constantly been high on. I'm sorry, Justin. I see the reaction, but he's right now the 25th, 26th starting pitcher off the board, right behind Plesac and Hendricks, and in front of guys like the aforementioned Wheeler, who I'm actually really high on this year, Dinelson Lamet and Zach Greinke. And I would take all 5 of those guys a million times over before I pick Jose Barrios. And it's just, I feel like it's one of those, it's time to call. It quacks like a duck. It walks like a duck. I think Jose Barrios is just a duck. And it 1.2 whip over the last few years, never posted higher than a 9.04 K per 9. He's got all this great stuff, and it's kind of like Wheeler in a regard that he has all the great stuff, but he hasn't put it together yet, and I'm not sure if he will. So he's just a guy, I'd much rather take the guys around him than picking him.
I'm writing your guys' names down now and making sure I do not invite you back next year. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I don't understand how you could just crap all over Walker Buehler for not getting innings and then crap all over a guy who could potentially lead Major League Baseball in innings and to do it with pretty damn good skills. And if the skills ever do match the service stats, we could see a Jose Barrios breakout this year. If you're taking it, explain to me real quick how you take Dinelson Lamet over a guy that's posted 200 innings before.
Okay, so I'm not the biggest on Dinelson Lamet, but I'd still take him simply because Jose Barrios, he's pitched 200.1 innings. That was his max, and he threw 63 last year, which is a good sign.
And 192 the year before the 200.
He's just not a guy. Everyone says it's his breakout year, and then it's kind of you get the Jose Barrios fatigue. I have Barrios fatigue.
But even if let's say he doesn't break out, let's say he's just like a 3.8 ERA guy with a strikeout an inning, but you get 180 innings this year. That's still he's not going to hurt you. When you're taking your SP2, SP3, I mean, I want a guy who's not going to hurt me, right?
I'll take Kyle Hendricks or Zach Wheeler.
You're not going to get any argument on me for Kyle Hendricks. I love Kyle Hendricks. What he does is just fantastic. Nick, come on, pep me up. Give me someone don't pick someone who's on all my teams.
No, I don't think he's on your team. We just mentioned him, Lamet. I'm definitely fading. I'm definitely fading him. Yeah, bicep tendonitis at the end of the season last year. Huge regression risk. Primarily a 2-pitch pitcher. Had a pretty mediocre ground ball rate. His fly ball rate went up, so I think you're going to see some more home runs. And he heavily relied on the on the slider last year. I think he's going to have to pivot more towards his fastball, which wasn't as effective. So I think not only is he regression risk in terms of the stats he's going to provide to managers, but also certainly an injury risk heading into the season. And I think the Padres don't make as many moves as they made if they thought that Lamet was as healthy as he is. Or not. I'm definitely I'm going to be fading him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine they're bringing in a bunch of different starters if they feel like they're getting a huge workload from Dinelson Lamet. And then, I mean, he's not even a 2-pitch guy. He's a 1.5 pitch guy. Like, I mean, and it's a good 1 pitch. At least the one is like, that slider is elite, but it's still, man, I'm not, you add in the injury risk and the regression risk, and I can't touch him even close to where he's going. All right, Cheesecake, tell me what you got.
All right, this is a guy who I know you were in on in 2020. I don't know about 2021. So Jesus Luzardo is my next guy. He's going pick 99. His range is 74 to 124. I just don't understand how we can expect him to throw enough innings pitched to be worth that draft price. In 17, he threw 43. In 18, he threw 109. 19, 55, and 20, he threw 59. So can we say maybe 130 is the top end of what we can expect from a Jesus Luzardo season? So you're drafting him to be a starting pitcher with only the hope that you're going to get a full-time starting pitcher run from him. So this is your second or third starting pitcher. So I think to me, it's just too much expectation. It's too aggressive on someone who I don't expect to give you enough volume to be worth that draft price. So around him, you also have guys like Zach Greinke, Dylan Bundy, Chris Paddock, and Charlie Morton, all guys who I expect, Morton maybe not, but all the first 3 I expect to be able to beat his innings considerably, beat his totals and the counting stats, and be similar ratios to Jesus Luzardo, who I'm not expecting for anything more than 130 or so innings at most.
That one doesn't hurt me, so yeah. I'm okay with that one. Okay. I do worry about the A's are a team that will traditionally limit guys, especially young guys. He does have, recent injuries. So, I don't have a problem fading Luzardo. I haven't been getting anywhere. I've been taking other pitchers. Paul, who's your next guy?
My next guy is Max Fried. He's kind of going in the top 30 pitchers or so. And everything that he did last year was kind of driven by just magically not giving up any home runs. And if you look into it a little bit, you see that, his exit velo dropped. So it's, a lot of people are happy about that. It went from 87 to around 83, but it was largely driven by his fastball. And I don't really think that the fastball is any, magically elite pitch for him. I think it's a good pitch, but I don't think it's, a pitch that's going to be the best fastball in the league. And that kind of concerns me that there's not going to be some regression going back to those power numbers. And, if he ends up being more of a, home run and inning guy as opposed to a, 0.3, I think it was last year, I think he kind of falls back a little bit and there's no reason to be taking him at that price. I'd rather take, a guy like Ryu, who's going a few picks after him, who has pretty much done the exact same thing for more seasons than just one. He's been, a high 2s, low 3s ERA guy with, about a K an inning. And that's kind of what Fried was doing. And I don't think he's going to be able to return that same production.
Yeah, that one hurts a little bit.
Yeah, all you have to look at is that home run rate, and I was 100% out all last year.
It's just so, and it's tied to a fastball too. If it was tied to something else, then I'd be able to believe in it. But I just don't think that he's going to not give up any home runs on his fastball, or 0 home runs on fastballs, whatever it was last year. It's just, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, he, being a lefty does kind of help that short porch in right field in SunTrust. So, I mean, he's definitely not going to give up no home runs. On his fastball, that's just not going to happen. I mean, his home run rate was absolutely minuscule in 2020. There's obviously going to be some regression there. I still think he's a pretty darn good pitcher. Maybe not. Maybe he's going a little bit high, and I've gotten him in a few leagues where he has dropped. So I think the market is starting to cool a little bit on him and pushing other pitchers up. But I see what you're saying. It doesn't hurt me to the core, but it definitely hurts a little because I do have shares of Max Fried. All right, Carlos, you came in hot on your first one. Are you coming in just as hot on this one?
I don't know. There is a proverbial elephant in the room with Trevor Bauer. I don't know how you guys feel about him. So next year we're going to have to bring pre-approved list so Jason can check before we say anything.
No, this is what I want because it gives me a chance to fire back at you guys, tell you how wrong you are about all of your picks.
That's exactly why I joined.
Yeah, we're on the record here. That's the problem,
Exactly. I'm
Yeah.
saving the receipts of this segment of Podapolooza.
I know. I'll own it. I'll own it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, this is a game about value. I could not take Trevor Bauer as a first round pick. I mean, I think it's crazy. Maybe I'm wrong, but we had this minuscule small sample last year where he was, like the greatest pitcher on earth. After not so many great seasons, not bad, but not this elite kind of pitching stats. And we know he did his magical stuff that's helping him, and we don't know if the Dodgers are going to keep rolling with it or not. I think they will, because it's making him win. But I mean, his numbers should regress even with the magical help, and they will regress out of the first round pick. I would take. There are a lot of other options there that you should take before picking up Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on this one. I see why people, and we've talked about Trevor Bauer a fair amount over the course of this weekend, and even in the last segment we spoke about Trevor Bauer, and I've made it very clear I do not trust Trevor Bauer. Yeah. Dude has been one of those guys, I've comped him to the pitcher version of BJ Upton. And those of you who remember BJ Upton, remember he would like change something in his swing mechanics. Yeah. He'd go on a tear, would just be absolutely fantastic, hitting home runs, stealing bases, getting on base, and you'd be like, this is it. This is the breakout. We're having a 2040 season right here. And then for no reason whatsoever, the dude would change the thing that got him going. And that's what Trevor Bauer has been over the course of his entire career.
Too much of a tinkerer. Yeah.
Joey Votto.
And what I tell people all the time in my real life job, which I work as a drug and alcohol counselor, as I tell people, the people who are too smart often screw up. If you think about it too much and you're always processing, you're gonna mess yourself up. And I think this is the case for Trevor Bauer. There's absolutely no way I would take him before, I don't know, pick 25, 26, maybe even, I don't even know if I'd take him in the second round of a 15-team draft. And he's going, top 15. He went 9th in the tag team, or 9th or 10th in the tag team draft that I did last weekend. And I just can't do it, man. I mean, I know the volume. Everybody's like, the volume. And yeah, he wants to pitch every 4 days.
Yeah.
But are the Dodgers going to let him? I mean,
they don't let too. Yeah.
They don't let anybody pitch that much. It's like, I don't. And I mean, he's not a guy who's, he's gotten over 200 innings once though. So we're going to take one 200 inning season, the 2 month sample from 2020. And that's what we're going to base a first round pick on. I'm with you, Carlos. There's absolutely no way. Oh, all right. I feel a little bit better. I feel like that pick itself rejuvenated me quite a bit. And what we're doing today is we are raising money for mental health. Every dollar that is donated goes to Mental Health America. And let's see. I'm gonna update the most recent totals here because we just got some money donated in. Let's see. We are currently at $5,128. So I mean, really, really, really appreciate everybody who's been donating. And for every dollar you donate, you get a raffle ticket to win some amazing prizes. So why don't we go ahead and give away at least one of these amazing prizes? So the current prize that is going to be given away, let's see. Oh, it looks like we're going to do an ad-free membership to Fangraphs. Actually, we're going to give away a few of those, I think. We're going to give away the first one from Mike Mayer. So we'll give away an ad-free membership to Fangraphs. Randomize. And Chris Mayer, you have won an ad-free membership to Fangraphs. I will set up Chris with Mike and get that all figured out. Also, Sean, you donated something really cool, so why don't you talk about it real quick?
So, like I had mentioned earlier, we podcast over at Baseball Life. It's I wouldn't even say a group on Facebook. It's more of a community that it started out of another group, and it's blown into a whole. We have a basketball, wrestling, and each group actually has its own podcast. Our basketball podcast just had on Kenny Anderson, NBA vet. He was on their show last week. Our first wrestling show, they had Buff Bagwell on there. So we've had a lot of really cool guests and this whole network of podcasts that all fall under the Life Group podcast umbrella. You can catch it, anywhere you listen to your podcast. But it's a really cool thing. Our largest group is our Baseball Life group. And we have a couple of merchandise items that our admin team over there was kind enough to gift to raffle off. Got a couple of banners, a couple of magnets, and it's got our, exclusive Baseball Life logo on it and everything. It actually is a Roberto Clemente swing, kind of a reimagined MLB logo. It's a pretty cool item. So can't wait to get rid of it and grow the brand a little bit.
I really, really appreciate you donating that. So we're going to give that away right now. And Dave Poping, you have won. I think that's Dave's third prize this weekend. So Dave is just cleaning up.
He's locked into your computer.
Fuck, man. Dave's a good guy, but I don't think you should win this much. But keep donating. You can win one prize. You could win a bunch of prizes, right? So, keep donating. You can donate to Podapolooza via my PayPal, justinmasonfantasy@gmail.com, or on Venmo @Justin Salinger. We have almost 18 minutes left in this segment, so we got a little bit of time. I want to go around the horn one more time, give you guys a chance to promote all your work, promote where people can find you on social media. Carlos, remind everybody where they can find you at.
Yeah, Twitter, @CA Marcano, sorry. That's where I usually put some stuff. And I write for Pitcher List and for 6-man rotation and Prospects 365. I'm cooking a little bit of a pitching status, new metric that I'm working on. So it might go live for the next week. So you might want to keep an eye on my Twitter handle if you are interested on hot takes like Zach Gallen and things like that.
definitely go follow Carlos. I'm looking forward to that metric. I want to see how that plays out and see how many other one of my pitchers you hate now because of that new metric. So it's been a blast talking to you. Paul, remind everybody where you can be reached and what you do.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter @PMaminoFantasy. Like I said before, a lot of my writing work is going to be found at rotofanatic.com. We have some other. We have a tool that we built. We call it Data Monster that involves a lot of the research I've done, the pitch location based stuff that I've been working on. We have some prospect stuff that's tied to that as well that I'm going to be writing up later this week, hopefully. But yeah, most of my work on rotofanatic.com and @PMaminoFantasy on Twitter.
All right, Cheesecake, tell us where you can be reached and what you're working on.
My name is my Twitter handle is art_T_Z. Triple Play is putting out. We're starting a website. I think I'm making the first announcement, taking that thunder from my co-hosts. We're starting a website that's going to be coming out soon. I write for SP Streamer. I have an article about ESPN, ADP, and some differences, some advantages you can take from that coming out this week. It should be. And like I said, we're part of the Fantrax network. Yeah, thanks for having me. And I wish I had donated before. I'm donating now because I want to get the next set of prizes.
There you go.
I want in.
You should want in. I mean, everybody should be donating right now. We got some really cool prizes coming up. So if you've missed out on some of the early ones, Rotofanatic, is going to be giving away 5 T-shirts next segment. Also, next segment going to be giving away NFBC 50 entry, and you get to go up against the guy who donated it, in Zach Waxman, who's drafted in 1 million leagues already. So you could probably catch him on an off day. We got a $50 gift card coming up. We've got some Rotosaurus Dino tumblers. We've got one of my favorite prizes of the day coming up here in a I think a couple hours. Ian Kahn will break down your dynasty team for you over Zoom. 15-minute call with him on Zoom. Break down your dynasty team. Ian's one of the best dynasty players, and that's coming up at 11:30, I believe. Oh no, 1:45 Eastern. I'm going to argue with him about how you build a Dynasty League team. So make sure you check back in. And then just a bunch of other really, really cool stuff, including TGFBI entries. We've already crossed the $5,000 mark, so that means at least 5 entries. Last year we gave away 6 because we raised over $6,000. That's the goal for today. I wanted to beat Pitcher List. I don't think it's going to happen. They had 4 or 5 days. We had 2. We're doing pretty damn good, though. I feel pretty great about. But Brockness Monster said he would shave his head if we beat Pitcher List. So a little bit of incentive for you people if you want to help us beat Pitcher List. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's okay. Nick, remind everybody where you can be reached on social media and plug all your work.
Sure. So again, I'm Nicky Tapas 71 on Twitter. Write primarily for Rotoballer. Handling again the Mets. Primarily the Mets desk, but also all the other teams writing, general fantasy baseball articles. I'm doing something probably in the next week or so on some prospects, some lesser known prospects that may be helpful in redraft leagues this year. And speaking of Dynasty, I got to give a shout out to my Dynasty League mates over in Hong Kong, the Cultural Good Times Dynasty League. One of my boys is actually in League 13 this year in TGFBI. So I wanted to just say hi to them. And we've got our first fab run tonight, so it should actually be pretty funny. Usually I wake up in the morning and I miss out on every single player that I want to get, and have a bunch of text messages, basically making fun of me. So that's usually something to enjoy. So I'm excited because tonight's the first run. And so tomorrow morning, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. and see who I missed out on. So what's up, guys? So cool.
So you don't live in Hong Kong yourself?
No. Our league is actually it's a great league. It's our 5th year now, I think, and we've got a majority of guys are in Asia, and a few guys in Seattle. We've got one guy in New York City. I'm here in New Jersey, and it's a great group. And we've been just having a blast over the last few years doing it. And I got them all watching me right now, so I'm sure they're going to be making fun of me pretty soon. My phone will be blowing up in about 5 seconds.
See, this is interesting because usually it's the international guys who get kind of screwed. Like we talked about this yesterday with all the guys from England. It's like they have to wake up in the middle of the night to set lineups or make sure their fabs set up ahead of time, and then they're waking up to the news on who they got. So it's interesting that it's the guy in the United States is the one who's getting kind of boned a little bit with the fab runs.
Yeah, our commissioner's he's in Hong Kong, and so it runs fab runs on Mondays and Fridays, I think at 2 p.m. So it's 2 a.m. our time on Sunday going into Monday. So yeah, you wake up to the bad news. A few years ago, I missed out on Grisham by $1. And I've had to live with that now for the last 3 years. And actually, the commissioner won them. So what are you going to do?
Brutal. Sean, remind everybody where you can be reached on social media and plug all your work.
So Baseball Life on Facebook, MetsJunkies.com. I'm actually, when we talked about Trevor Bauer, one of my first articles for Mets Junkies was comparing the last 3 years of Trevor Bauer's run into free agency with Max Scherzer's. So you can catch that article over at Mets Junkies. I got another article coming out later this week, also at Sean Flannery 13 on Twitter. That's me right there. And Nicky, the fact that you get screwed out on your fab, you're a Mets fan, you should be used to getting screwed. We're in this together.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, but we had a great off season. We'll see what happens.
It's time to believe as a Mets fan, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the season is over.
No, I think it's going to be a great year. I have absolutely full confidence that the Mets are going to be excellent this year until we get to about April 3rd, and then the pitching will begin.
The June swoon is in full effect in May.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an A's fan. If you want to trade owners, I would trade.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Maybe Steve Cohen will just buy the A's a new owner and then trade for Matt Chapman.
Oh, that was low. Come on.
he can afford it. So, all right, let's finish out our last round of buzz. Sean, go ahead and give me your last one.
So I'm going to throw the wild card out here onto the table. Their first reliever mentioned today, and I'm picking Rafael Iglesias. And it's not really a statistical thing because if you look at his Fangraphs Savant numbers, he was great in 2020, and he's been good for a really long time now, probably a bit underrated. But right now, he gets traded to LA. He's right inside the top 100 as like the fifth, sixth closing, save source off the board. And I just have a gut feeling that when was the last time the Angels really had a good saves person, a good reliever? And I actually had to go and do some homework on it because in the last decade, their best reliever by FWAR was 2019 Hansel Robles. And then they've only had 3 30-plus or 25-plus save guys in the last decade. And here's some wild names. Jordan Walden in 2011, Ernesto Frieri in 2013, and 2015 Houston Street. So I just feel like he's got some weird, bad Vlad Sedler. I got a gut feeling that this isn't going to work out for him. I think he's probably going to be overdrafted. People are thinking, oh, the A's or the Angels are better this year. I think he's going to underperform what we're expecting out of him, even though his numbers are great.
I mean, that's a pretty. I mean, I guess going against a relief pitcher is never too bold, right? I mean, we've seen closers just rotate, but he feels like one of the safer, more locked-in guys. I haven't gotten him a bunch just because typically I'm getting one of the top 3 or I'm waiting. So it doesn't hurt me personally, but I don't know that I agree with that.
It's like I said, it's more of a gut feeling than anything else, and I feel icky about it.
All right, well, there you go. Carlos, who's your last guy?
So I'm going very soft this for this finals round. There was this guy, Christian Javier, that everybody was talking about this last season, right? And he did pretty well to be a rookie and things like that. But I think we might be overlooking some other guys on the price range that could outperform him. And I was looking at his statistics, and then he's the 5th starter. We are not expecting elite numbers, and I'm okay with that. But for that price or better, you can get Eliezer Hernandez, which I think it's going to be one of the best Marlins pitchers for this season. So as before, it's a matter of pricing and getting the best value for your buck. So I would fade Christian Javier in favor of Eliezer Hernandez in this case. It was softer this time.
It was softer, and I'm right there with you. I am not buying in on Christian Javier. I mean, I like him from a skills perspective somewhat, but he's a 2-pitch guy, and I just worry his profile is going to end him up in the bullpen. Now, I think this year they don't have a ton of options unless they start making moves at some point. But I think he could. I mean, the home run rate I think is going to go up, and I think his future is in the bullpen at some point. So yeah, I'm fading Christian Javier, even though I liked him coming in. I fabbed him in TGFBI, and I think in one of my main events as well. So, but the more I dug into it, the more I'm just scared. Unless he adds a 3rd pitch, that he's just not going to be able to repeat what he did in the minor leagues, especially.
Which could happen. He could get better because he's still a rookie and he's developing a lot of stuff, But right now, I think he still needs to prove some stuff.
I completely agree. Paul, who's your last guy?
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of something Nick said earlier, and I've been fading Wheeler as well. I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but similar ideas to why I was fading Fried. The home run rate was insanely low. It doesn't really seem like there's anything in the underlying numbers that kind of prove to me why that's happening. But one of the other things with him is that hitters started to be a little more aggressive with him in the zone, and I've done some research. I've kind of started to believe that called strikes are a little bit more of a skill than I think we tend to believe that they are. And I think that if that's changing, especially since he started throwing some more fastballs, hitters are becoming more aggressive in the zone. He loses some of those called strikes. And I think that that's kind of what was really driving the drop in K rate. So I think that I'm not really seeing a huge reason for it to improve unless the stuff as a whole improves.
All right. Wheeler's one of those guys. I don't know what to make of. Like, and so you add in the fact that I have a hard time parsing what happened in 2020 to him, comparatively speaking to where he was prior to 2020. And then you add in a long track record of injury history. And I'm just not going to pay the price. Sean, I know you've said a few times you're in on Wheeler, and we've got a couple extra minutes. So before we have to wrap up and get Cheesecake's last guy. So defend yourself, defend your guy.
So, like I said, I'm a masochistic Mets fan. I've always loved Wheeler. I was always the last one holding the flag for Wheeler. And when he went to Philly, I said, okay, he's going to get that 1 year with JT Realmuto. Going from Wilson Ramos to Realmuto from a framing perspective was huge. I wasn't expecting kind of how they worked with him and that he did throw the four seam more than he had lately. But the sinker was still a big part of his game. And that's what we saw. And I think fed into a lot of the drop in strikeouts in 2020 was he was doing things that he's never done before, and that he was trying to get early, quick outs and go deeper into games, which he did very, very well. He averaged right under 7 innings a start last year in 2020. So I think he was using that sinker to really get some quick outs, get himself out of jams. But he has 2 elite plus offerings. That slider and curveball both have whiff rates well over like 37, 36%. I think his stuff is still too good. Now JT Realmuto, who's injured, is there for the next, they're going to be paired up forever. I really like him. And he's only 30 years old, which feels like a crazy thing. But Zach Wheeler, I still think is the dark horse candidate for the Cy Young in the National League.
You just have to watch the 40-pitch first inning Zach Wheeler specials. That
happened to me the last time I saw him in Atlanta, too.
Yeah, so. Like you basically know what Wheeler you have in the first inning. Do you have the effective Wheeler, or do you have the 40-pitch, 4-walk Wheeler going that night?
I think he only had 2 walks in my game when I watched him.
But is that a guy you want as like a top 100 pick, right? I mean, that becomes the question. I don't know that I want to invest that kind of draft capital into a guy that I'm not feeling super comfortable about. All right, Cheesecake, give me your last guy.
A guy I'm not feeling super comfortable about, a guy who I've actually gone into a draft and gone, I might take Lance McCullers. And then when it comes time to do it, I can't click on Lance McCullers because I just don't know how many innings he's going to throw. And that's sort of a theme with my prep this year is getting guys who I think are going to throw innings and are going to not cause me some agita later on in the season. Between 2015 and 2018, McCullers never had more than 22 starts, missed all of 2019. 2020 was fantastic, 55 inning pitch of good performance. But then I look at where he's going ADP 119. And right around there is Kevin Gausman, Pablo Lopez, all the Marlins guys. And then I look about 35 picks later. Maybe this is a bad comparison, but why Frankie Montas is going 35 picks later? Is there really much more risk in taking Frankie Montas, waiting for him, than jumping on McCullers around pick 119, 120? That's what I want to know.
See, this is what we did. We started off just bagging on all the guys that I like, and now we've kind of come full circle and we're bagging on the guys I do not like. So and I mean, I've loved Lance McCullers from his skills perspective, except for one skill, and it's health, right? Mm-hmm. The dude can never stay on the mound, and you go over and you look at like his projections and you're like, how are they projecting him for 150, 160 innings when he's never done it? And never done it at the major league level. His highest innings total was in 2018, 128 and a third. Like, I just don't understand how you can project him for much more than that. I know, like, people are like, well, it's the last year of his contract. Houston's just going to let him go. That might not be a good thing either, because he has not been able to stay healthy. I don't understand why people are pushing Lance McCullers. Like, I've seen him go in the top 100 in drafts, and I'm just not. I just can't even come close to that.
Yeah, his min pick is 89, which to me, you're jumping a lot of more sure bets at 89 to pick Lance McCullers.
Yeah, in a season in which we are super worried about workloads, right? Mm-hmm. You guys have talked about it with other guys, talked about it with Walker Buehler. So we're going to put a guy who's never shown he can throw that many innings at the major league level up towards the top 100 when he's going around guys that have proven that they can. And don't get me wrong, there's some risk to Frankie Montas. Obviously, he was hurt last year. He's got COVID right now. So I need to see him on a mound before I invest any more. But yeah, no, I love the Frankie Montas call as long as the COVID isn't bothering him. And hopefully we'll see him pitching on a mound here pretty quick. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. It's been a fantastic panel, in spite of the fact you crapped all over the guys I like. I'll have you back on next year. I'll have you guys on my podcast throughout the season. Really appreciate you guys coming together and helping me raise some money for Mental Health America. I'm going to unceremoniously kick you out like I always do.
Brace for impact.
And move on to the next crew who's coming in here in a second. I appreciate everybody who has been donating money for Mental Health America. It's a fantastic organization. It does a lot of good promoting mental health in this country, getting people mental health treatment. And joining us right now is a fantastic new crew. So let's start off with my podcast co-host. We usually record at this time on Sundays. Not doing it today because we're doing this. How you doing, Jason?
Hey, I'm doing great, and that's why I signed up for this time slot, so I'd be in habit and just like, hey,
right.
I'm here. And by the way, I forgot to put in the prize donation, but I'm going to show you guys what I'm donating to this, and this is a Luis Robert bobblehead.
Oh, wow.
Charlotte Knights from last year. So this is my donation to the prize pack for stuff. Unopened, never opened, still in the box. I will ship it out to whoever the winner is for that. So I'm adding that. So other than that, and we have spring training today. So I'm wearing the hat, wearing the shirt. I'm all good to go.
Well, I'm going to add that to the prize pool right now. We'll give that away at the end of this segment. I really appreciate you donating such a cool bobblehead. It's the only bobblehead that's been donated this year. So, this is your chance. If you're a prospect guy, you're a Luis Robert guy, donate now. You can see down below on the ticker if you're watching live where you can donate. So do that so you can get that Luis Robert bobblehead. Joining me as well is Sarah Sanchez. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. Excited to be at my first Podapolooza.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I started following you in the last year. I've been excited every time you tweet it. You've got a new job in the industry, so tell people where you can be reached on social media and plug everything you do.
I am a Cubs writer at Bleed Cubby Blue, and I also co-host their podcast, Cup of Cubby Blue, but I'll be doing some fantasy stuff this year. I'm in the inaugural year of the GLARF with some amazing people who I know have been on your show all weekend and trying out this great fantasy baseball invitational stuff. So it should be a fun time.
Yeah, don't let those GLARF guys push you around. Just throw elbows. Dave is he talks a lot, but he doesn't back it up. You're gonna be fine.
Well, I was feeling a little bit like I was cramming for a test, getting ready for our draft, but I'm good. I think I've got it.
Yeah, I've got all the faith in the world, and you're gonna be fine. Jason, I forgot to remind you to where you can reach on social media and then plug your work.
Yeah, we're right there in the handle at Jason Collette, and then Collette Calls at RotoWire hits up in the middle of every week. If you don't yet have a RotoWire subscription, rotowire.com/radio, free 10-day trial to get in there, read everything, and decide if you want to then subscribe. You don't even have to have a credit card to do the free day trial. So do that. And then starting next Sunday, Justin and I will be back on the regular podcast recording schedule during this time slot.
Yes, we're going to be recording every Sunday. It's one of my favorite days of the week because you and I get to sit and chat, usually with someone in the industry, but sometimes just you and me. And we talk about some fantasy baseball stuff. So,
and we have real baseball to talk about.
Oh my God, right? I didn't even think about the fact baseball was actually starting today. So I'm stuck in here. I don't have a TV, so I won't be watching the games. Everybody turn on the games in the background, but listen to this. Joining us as well is Lou Landers. Lou, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. And you can't see my pretty face today because I am in central Mexico, and I'm a little worried that using my video is going to be lagging. So hey, good to be here with everybody, and looking forward to shooting the shit with everyone.
Definitely. I do miss your face, but remind everybody where you can reach on social media and then plug all your work.
Yeah, you can find me at Landers Talks on Twitter, and I have a Lou Lander Sports Talk Facebook group where all my stuff is posted. Just released our latest episode of Lucas Baseball this morning. Have another one coming out tomorrow morning, so check both of those out.
All right. Also joining us as well is Johnny. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Okay, what's going on, Justin?
Hey, how you doing, man, friend?
I'm good. Good. Looking forward to today. My Twins are in action against the Red Sox at 1 o'clock, so be looking forward to that.
There we go. Remind everybody where you can reach on social media and then plug your work.
Yeah, I can be found at jball0202. I'm the president of primetimesportstalk.com. We got a lot of baseball stuff, a lot of fantasy. We do a lot of DFS and gambling articles too. So definitely pay attention to that.
We definitely will. And joining us right now is Dan Strafford. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. None of my machines liked StreamYard this morning, so I had to swap a little bit, but I'm here now.
You know, the only machine that likes StreamYard for me is my work computer. And so, like, I don't know what I'm going to do next year when I'm actually having to work from the office, and I'm probably not allowed to steal my work computer and bring it home for the weekend.
Steal is a very specific word.
Sorry,
borrow.
Borrow without asking permission.
Co-locate. You're co-locating your machine.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
This is why I haven't told anybody I work with for my day job what I do on the side, and I don't use my actual last name for this. So, keeping a little level of anonymity, so my actual employers don't fire me. So, Dan, remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug all that you do.
Sure. Kind of a hard handle at Dan Strafford. I know it's pretty straightforward. Right now, pretty much a fantasy free agent for a large part. I'm still over at Sports Grid doing news updates. But don't have a home right now for when it comes to content. So if any content people out there are looking for somebody, hit me up.
Oh, we can definitely talk. We're looking for people at Primetime Sports Talk. So.
There you go. Not only am I bringing the industry together to talk about fantasy sports, bringing the industry together to get each other jobs. There we go. That's what I like to see. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about bold predictions this episode. And I hope you, gentlemen and lady, have brought the heat today. I'm going to start with Sarah. Sarah, give me your first bold prediction for 2021.
So I know that everybody thinks he's a pretty hot commodity and he just signed a deal that makes him feel pretty special. I think Trevor Bauer is going way too high. I'm not drafting him anywhere. I think that what he showed in 2020 is really promising. It is also like 5% of what he has done over his career. And we don't really know how that's going to transfer going from the NL Central and the AL Central, which was a really weak division last year, to the NL West, which is a lot more hitters that are going to give him some trouble. So I'm holding on Trevor Bauer. He's just going way too high for me. And I don't plan on drafting him pretty much anywhere.
There you go. I love it. I mean, I've been talking about it all weekend, and every time he's brought up, do not trust him whatsoever. Do not want him on my team. If he made it to me at the 2-3 turn in a 15-team league, I'd still have to think about it and likely would go a different direction. So I'm right there with you. Great way to start off this episode or this segment of Podapolooza. It'll be an episode on the TGFBI podcast. So if you do miss some of this today because you're paying attention to actual baseball games being played, you can go watch the replays over on YouTube or hear it in podcast form on the TGFBI feed. All right, Jason, I know you did like a million bold predictions already, so give me one.
Hey, this comes on the heels of your previous segment. I have Lance McCullers as the top 3 AL Cy Young guy, and you guys spent the last segment just dumping on the guy, and I love Lance McCullers this year. I think this is the year he sets his high water mark for innings pitched. I do think this is the year he's able to put all the stuff and the potential together and be pretty phenomenal this year. I mean, I think people are writing off the Astros and him in particular. I see him taking that step forward, much like I saw Maeda doing it last year for the Twins, who would have won the Cy Young Award if it wasn't for that meddling kid in Cleveland. So that's my bold prediction, right on the heels of the exact opposite language of your previous panel.
Yeah, I mean, I just ended the previous panel by trashing people that thought Lance McCullers was going to throw a bunch of innings this year. I mean, I guess it's possible. Like I said, he's in the last year of his contract, and so the Astros no longer care about keeping him healthy. They just try to ride him, but he's never been healthy. Dude's never thrown more than 120 something innings at the major league level. So I don't understand how you can make this prediction, Jason.
I believe. You know
It's
me,
bold.
I have a perfect
It's
health
bold,
track
that's for
record.
sure.
Yeah, it's bold. You know me, Justin. I have a perfect track health record, and so I'm it's going to happen. It's going to happen with McCullers too.
All right, Scooter, I get it. Lou, give me your first bold prediction.
Well, I got Eddie Rosario going to have more home runs and RBIs than Francisco Lindor at a fraction of the cost. Obviously, Lindor is the better overall player, but the two are kind of connected with, of course, them trading away Lindor, signing Eddie Rosario. And you look, first 6 seasons or so, home run and RBI numbers very close. But I like that Rosario is going to be hitting in a run-producing spot compared to Lindor, who's going to be hitting towards the top of a lineup. Lindor also going to face tougher pitching in the NL East compared to Rosario in the AL Central, and Rosario is pretty comfortable there for what it's worth. He's been there his whole career.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad bold prediction at all. I mean, I think Rosario definitely has the power to be able to do that. And like you said, like he's facing, much worse pitching. He doesn't even have to face his own team, which has the best pitching in that division. So I like that one. It's not one I would have thought of, but yeah, definitely a good first bold prediction for you, sir. Dan, here we go.
Sir. Well, Sarah and I are on the same wavelength here. I am Trevor Bauer is finishing outside the top 20 of starting pitchers here in 2021. I have a list of 22 pitchers I think can and will finish in front of him. That seems like a long list to run through right now. But Sarah hit on a lot of the same things we're seeing. Michael Ahedo over at Pitcher List had a great article back in the end of the year about why 2020 is the outlier for Bauer. Is it possible he comes back to earth and still finishes as a top 10, top 15 pitcher? I suppose, but I think that walk rate's going to come back up and home run to fly ball rate's coming back up as well. And I think Colorado, San Diego, they're going to be a little bit of a problem for him. So I think that Bauer is, one, being overdrafted. Two, I think that he's outside the top 20 this year.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see it happening. We've seen it before very recently in 2019 where he just completely disappointed. And I've comped him a bunch already this weekend and previous to this weekend to the pitcher version of BJ Upton, a guy who just, is doing really, really well and then tinkers with something in spite of the fact that he's doing well and then goes off kind of, off the radar. So I don't understand.
I'll put Carrasco and Strasburg ahead of Bauer this year. I like both of them to have much better seasons than Trevor Bauer.
Strasburg and who?
Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah. Oh, I love Carlos Carrasco this year. I'm totally fine with that call. Johnny, give me your first bold prediction.
All right, well, I'm going to go with someone that everyone always talks about is Mike Trout. But what I'm going to say about Trout, everyone's been dropping him down a little bit because he doesn't steal as many bases anymore. But I'm going to say Mike Trout wins the Triple Crown this year.
Ooh.
His BABIP, he had a career BABIP of 358 before 2019 and it's dipped. In 2019, he played 28 fewer games than Soler and only missed the home run title by 3. And in the same year, he only missed the RBI title by 19 and played 25 fewer games than Abreu, who led that year. He could have very well had the Triple Crown that in 2019. Of course, last year, everything went to hell. But I honestly think in his age 29 season this year, Trout's going to have a career year, and I think he's going to take the Triple Crown.
Everybody's fading Trout, including myself. Like, I haven't taken Trout in the top 5, 6, or even I think 7 picks when I've been up there, just because I'm looking for speed and I'm worried that he may not steal as much. But like, he's still the best player in baseball. At least I think he's still the best player in baseball. And it's like, how do you bet against the guy who's just been the best player in baseball for the better part of the last decade? So I love that bold prediction. I hope you're right. I think the game is better when Mike Trout is fantastic. So I'm right there with you. Go ahead and just give me your next bold prediction there, Johnny.
All right, we'll go with another guy that everyone talks about is Jacob deGrom. And another one is going to be he reaches 300 Ks this year. Last year in the short season, he had 68 innings pitched at 104 strikeouts. Now, obviously, if you triple that and extrapolate it, there's 204 innings, which is the exact same amount he threw in 2019, and his 312 strikeouts. I think he could definitely do it. He's going to win his third Cy Young. So I think 300 Ks for DeGrom this year.
That is a bold prediction. I mean, Dan almost choked to death when it happened. Breaking news, I guess my baby has spelled her first word. And that's, I mean, don't get me wrong, wish I was there for it, but this is important to raising money for Mental Health America. And
was it Gregor?
I mean, I'm just hoping it wasn't a four-letter word because given the Mason household, that could easily be what it was. Back to DeGrom, man, that is a bold prediction, especially considering we don't know what pitcher workloads are going to be. But, man, I love Jacob DeGrom. I have taken Jacob DeGrom first overall in drafts this year. He is my top pitcher on the board, and I have no problem, especially if you're playing in a 15-team league, taking him in those top 3 picks because, you know, you have no idea with the way pitching is being moved up this year if you're going to get, you know, who you're going to get at the back end in that second, you know, 2-3 turn area. So I love it. And I hope you're right because if you're right, I'm going to be doing really, really well this season. This is a much better segment than the last one when all they did was crap all over the pitchers that I like this year. So I'm liking the way this is going. Sarah, go ahead and give me your next one.
Sure. So one player that I'm really interested in who I think is going super low is Nick Senzel. And I think Nick Senzel is going to have a huge season. If you look at the peripherals, you look at the numbers behind the numbers, some of the bad X projections, I think that Nick Senzel actually projects to be like a top 100 player. And he's going currently, I think the last time I looked, his average ADP was in the 300s. So I think Nick Senzel is a huge value that people should be targeting late in drafts. And I think you can get some early round returns from a player that you can get pretty late.
That is a bold prediction, and I love it. I mean, Nick Senzel, former top prospect. The only thing he hasn't been able to do is stay on the field, but he's healthy right now. And the Reds have already said that they look at him as the everyday center fielder. So, you know, I think some of the questions coming into the offseason were, is he going to have enough playing time in that kind of crowded situation in Cincinnati, especially without a DH? I still think the DH is coming. I know everybody keeps calling me crazy, but the Reds have already committed that he's going to be their center fielder this year. And as long as he's healthy, I definitely think he could do it. He has all the talent in the world, just got to stay on the field.
Well, and that Reds lineup has a lot of offense in it. I mean, I know that people are wondering how, well, they didn't replace Bauer, so the pitching has some issues, but he's going to have a lot of people around him to drive in and a lot of people that he can drive in as well.
Absolutely. I love the call out. Not a guy that I've been targeting a lot this year, but I really need to change that going forward in my draft. So I hope you're not in my TGFBI draft. I gotta look up and figure out.
No, you know what's funny though? I'm with Jason in League 14, so I'm glad that he's taking McCullers. You can have him.
and Dan is definitely in my league, but I'm not worried about Dan like I would be worried about. Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Dan, why don't you give me your next bold prediction?
And I love the Senzel call, and I love just from a strategy perspective, the prospects who don't work out and people, you know, forget about them a little bit, move them up around and take them around earlier. Devin Williams will have over 20 saves this year. I think that the Brewers are a smart team, but I think Josh Hader is best served in high leverage, multi-inning appearances. And I think they're going to continue to do that. I think Hader will have 10 to 15 saves, but I think Devin Williams is going to be the guy who comes in and cleans up more often, comes in with 2 runs up, nobody on in the ninth to finish things out. And so he's the kind of guy, he's going at right about where I'd assume he was ADP-wise, so I don't think he's a steal in any way. But Justin, you hit on starting pitching. We're going to have to find these peripheral guys who have low ERAs, low whips, who give us a little bit of an edge if we don't get those top-end starters. And I think Williams, a couple of guys in Cleveland are on that list. I'll talk in my final bold prediction. I think there are some pieces here. I think Williams goes over 20 saves and becomes one of those projected closers for 2022 who then disappoints people because Hader and he continue to split saves in 2022.
And I mean, there's a chance that Milwaukee trades Hader, right? I mean, that's been persistent rumor all offseason is that
I mean, the Dodgers need more pitching, right?
yeah, and so do the Padres, right? So I'm sure one of those teams, the Mets will come in second because that's what the Mets do. So, but I mean, not the Mets had a great offseason, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Hader traded. I don't know that he supplants Hader as the closer, but he could for sure. I mean, Craig Counsell does whatever he thinks helps his team, and so if that means Hader comes in the 7th and then Williams gets the 9th,
I think we're making that transition, right? We are starting to see more and more teams use their best reliever in the highest leverage positions, and that's a lot of analytics folks have been talking about it for a long time. About Rivera is the greatest closer of all time, but if the Yankees had used him in the 7th and 8th more often, what would have happened? And those sort of situations. I think Hader's that good and has shown that he can give you length, right? He can give you that 1 2/3 or 2 1/3. And I think we're going to see more and more of that this year. I think we're going to see it in Cleveland too. I think you're going to see it across different places where the best reliever is used in different situations, opening up saves as we know them, the 9th with nobody on, up 2 or up 1 to other guys.
It's interesting you mentioned Cleveland because Francona was one of the first guys to do that type of thing with Andrew Miller back in 2016. He used him in the 5th, 6th inning, 6th, 7th inning, and had Cody Allen closing and stuff like that. So, yeah, I could definitely see that with the Cleveland guys. I like the Cleveland guys, too.
And this is one of those seasons that's going to be frustrating for everyone when it comes to closers and saves. And I know there's still a huge contingent out there. It's like, don't pay for saves. Well, sometimes you want to avoid these kind of sticky situations, and that's why you end up doing it. At least that's how I tend to roll. Lou, give me your next bold prediction.
All right, man. Well, with all these great fantasy minds on this segment, I kind of want to go off script a little, kind of make sure no one took my predictions. So rather than focus on individual players, I'm going to focus on some teams. One is I think the Nationals are going to beat out both the Mets and the Braves. I know the Mets had this fantastic offseason, but you don't win off field and in the offseason. They still have to go out there. They have to prove that they're a championship caliber team. Braves, great, fantastic lineup. Worlds of potential in the rotation, but they kind of have to have everything go right for them. Whereas the Nationals, best starting pitching, improved bullpen, tons of options to close out games. They added thump that they needed with Schwarber and Bell. I kind of think they're the most complete team in that NL East, and they have the fewest question marks. So everyone's talking Braves and Mets. I'm taking Nationals.
I actually kind of agree with you. I rolled over my winnings in betting on the Super Bowl into the Nationals win the National League this year. Odds were great, and I do believe in them. They just won the World Series, like in 2019.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. If they get into the postseason, I mean, as good as the Dodgers and Padres are, obviously probably the two elite in the NL, in a short series, especially Strasburg, Corbin, and Scherzer are as good as anybody.
Yep, I love the call out right there. Jason, give me your next bold prediction.
And before that, though, what is that 5-cent bet going to pay out, by the way?
45 cents.
So bold prediction for me is I've got Avisail Garcia as a top 50 outfielder for a couple of reasons. One, he has lost like half a person this offseason. You look at some of the video, and I mean, he's down like 25 pounds. Not that he was he was a large guy, but still a very athletic large guy. But the bigger factor to me is he's playing right field again. He's out of center field, and it really wore him down. You look at his expected numbers from 16 to 19, and then last year things fell off a cliff because he was physically taxed by his size and having to play center. Lorenzo Cain's back. Garcia can move back over to right field. He's in better shape. I'm expecting a big year from Garcia.
Garcia is one of those guys that, I mean, not including 2020, but he's one of those guys that's kind of unsexy that people aren't jumping, at the draft table to take or bid up in an auction. But he always seems to produce good numbers. And I think maybe it's the fact that he was a top prospect at one point and people expected him to be a superstar and just never lived up to that, or people just don't value kind of the accumulators, the guys who can just put up stats kind of in every category, but just not excel in one. But yeah, I think Garcia is an underrated guy. Best shape of his life.
It's that mini Miggy label he's never been able to shake. He kind of looks like Miguel Cabrera, and people have just had that expectation. But he's good in his own right, and this year I believe he's going to take a really nice step forward.
All right. What we're doing today is we are raising money for Mental Health America, and I really, really appreciate everybody who has donated money today. We are currently sitting at $5,252 raised for Mental Health America. For every $1,000 raised, I'm putting someone in TGFBI. We raised $6,000 last year. We are well on our way to beating that. I'm hoping we do. Keep donating. You can see in the ticker below if you're watching live. Where you can donate. It's justinmasonfantasy@gmail.com on PayPal or at Justin Salinger on Venmo. And every dollar you donate does go to Mental Health America and gets you a raffle ticket for these amazing prizes. Let's give some of these amazing prizes away. Jason surprised us with a bobblehead, a Luis Robert bobblehead that he's going to give away. And we're gonna do that first. We've got a few prizes to give away on this panel. So let's see. And the winner is Philip Gautier. And I apologize if I mispronounced your name. If I mispronounce people's names, feel free to tell me. I don't want to be that guy that butchers people's names, whether they're baseball players, whether they're people donating, whether they're fantasy analysts. Please correct me if I'm butchering it. But Philip, I will connect you with Jason, and he will send that out to you. Thank you so much, Jason, for donating that. We're going to give away 5 Roto Fanatic t-shirts. Michael Govier, good buddy of mine. He was on yesterday's Podapolooza, so you're going to have to go back and check that one out if you want. So I'm going to give away 5 t-shirts right now. So let's see. And randomize. All right. Shelly V, Justin Nolte, Mark Gannon, Kyle Edwards, and Francisco Gregory. You have won a Roto Fanatic t-shirt. Congratulations. I will hook you up with Michael Govier and get that t-shirt. Hope you guys enjoy it. And I really appreciate Michael and all the guys at Roto Fanatic for donating and being a part of Podapolooza all weekend long. We've had a lot of guys from Roto Fanatic on. And the last thing we're going to give away, Zach Waxman contacted me, and he said he will give away an entry into an NFBC 50. So that's a 12-team $50 draft. He's gonna donate. You're gonna have to go up against him. He's drafted a bunch. He's a good player, but you'll catch him on an off day. He drafts too many teams. He gets distracted. He's in like 65 leagues already this year, so he's probably worn down at this point. So let's randomize that. And Britton Allen, congratulations. You have won that NFBC entry. I will connect you with Zach, and he will get that set up for you. I appreciate everybody who has donated prizes, everybody who has donated money. We're raising a lot of money right now for Mental Health America, an organization I feel really strongly about because I feel like, especially in these pandemic days, it is really good to support people's mental health and help them get access to the care they need. There you go. Dan's going to donate. Love it. Thank you, everyone.
In for 50. So let's keep it going.
There we go. Thank you, Dan. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate all of you coming on the panel and talking with me, giving me your bold predictions. Before we jump into the next round of bold predictions, I want to give you guys and gal a chance to plug all your work, promote yourself a little bit, remind people where you can be reached on social media. So, Dan, go ahead and tell people where you can be reached on social media, and then plug everything you're not doing, I guess.
Yeah, it's quiet times for me. At Dan Strafford on social, and if you listen to Sports Grid, SiriusXM 204, I am on top of the hour at midnight and 1 a.m., and I'm top of the hour 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. Recorded for both, thankfully. But you can listen to my updates there.
And Johnny, remind everybody where you can be reaching what you do.
On Twitter at jball0202, president of primetimesportstalk.com. We have a YouTube channel we got started. We do mostly football, baseball, basketball, hockey, but we do a lot of DFS stuff, a lot of gambling stuff. I'm also going to be starting this week, hopefully by tomorrow, my own weekly article called Paint in the Black. So I'm hoping to work on that tonight and get that out first thing tomorrow. But definitely follow us for a lot of fantasy stuff coming up this next week, leading up to April 1st.
All right. And Sarah, remind everybody where you can be reached and what you do.
You can find me on Twitter at @BCB_Sarah. I write at Bleed Cubby Blue and host the podcast Cup of Cubby Blue. If you're interested in some Cubs news, notes, and banter, that is the place to go. I'm also considering a new project to be announced soon on the Twitter. So keep an eye on that and just make sure you're following. You'll be up to date.
There you go. Gotta love new projects. I'm always adding projects in spite of my wife hating the fact that I add new projects. So we'll support you there. We'll follow you on Twitter. Follow all your Cubs talk for sure as well. Jason, remind everybody where you can be reached and what you're working on.
I can be reached on Twitter right there, where my finger's pointing. And then other podcasts to see. This morning, I recorded with Patrick Davitt on the Baseball HQ podcast. I reported with Jordan Eisen on Wednesday on the Field of Vision Fantasy Sports podcast. And then I'm due to be with Rob DiPietro on the Dead Pull Hitter podcast as well. So if you didn't get enough listening to me here, there are more options to listen to me here in the coming days.
And we had Patrick Davitt on yesterday. He actually gave away a guest spot on that same podcast to someone. And then we had Jordan Eisen on yesterday as well, who's just one of the cool new voices in the industry. He's 16 years old, and he is writing and podcasting and competing in TGFBI. He's going to have the youngest ever, TGFBI participant crown forever. I mean, I don't know if anybody will beat him. I was telling my 10-year-old, I was like, you need to get to work. Jordan's out here killing it. I'm going to be on his podcast next week as well. So he's a great dude in the industry. And of course, we love Rob in the Pull Hitter podcast. He's a great dude. He wished he could be on this weekend, but he had a family commitment. So we'll get him on next year. I'll have him on podcasts and stuff. If you're not following Dead Pull Hitter, you're missing out on some great fantasy content. Lou, remind everybody where you can be reached and what you're working on.
Thanks. Outlanders Talks on Twitter, Lou Lander Sports Talk Facebook group, Lucas Baseball Podcast, Suicide Squeeze Baseball Podcast, and every Friday at 11 p.m. You can find me on Sirius XM 211 Sports Overnight America.
All right, let's get back into these bold predictions. We got about 15 minutes left in the segment. Lou, I'll kick it back to you. Give me your last bold prediction.
All right, well, I hope it's as good as the first two. Let's see. Chicago White Sox, best record in Major League Baseball. Big believer in the overall talent. Sure, there's teams with more talent, but they all have tougher competition, in my opinion, in their respective divisions. I think the White Sox run away with the AL Central. Solid rotation last year, improved with the addition of Lance Lynn. Tons of big-time arms in the bullpen, adding a lockdown closer in Liam Hendricks, arguably the best over the past 2 years. Lineup scary 1 through 9. Basically all the makings of a championship caliber team. Obviously, to say they're good is not bold, but to suggest they win more games than the Dodgers, Padres, Braves, Yankees, Mets, etc., I believe is.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that bold prediction as well. I mean, as long as that young team can kind of come together, there's a real shot they are the best team in baseball. So I mean, I don't know if it's all going to come together this year. It's still a very young, inexperienced team, but I like almost all of the pieces they've got. Love that they brought in Hendricks to kind of shore up that bullpen a little bit. So I like the call out there, Lou. Jason, give me your last bold prediction.
See, I'm going back to Milwaukee, and I want Josh Lindblom, and I have him as a top 100 overall pitcher, not just starting pitcher, because you got to factor in all the relievers and such. But Josh Lindblom, I believe, is being underdrafted this year. When you look at the quality of his stuff, what he lacks in velocity, he makes up in movement, and the fact that he truly throws the kitchen sink at the plate. 6 different pitches. We'll use them all against righties and lefties, and has got high swinging strike rates on all of those pitches. And last year had struggled making the adjustment coming over from pitching overseas, but I think this year is going to take a nice step forward. And right now he's a great value, but I have him as a top 100 pitcher this year.
I mean, he's one of those guys that I was staying away from coming into last year. I just hadn't gotten to see him pitch because he's coming over. Was it from Japan or Korea? I can't remember which one, but I just hadn't seen him pitch, so I didn't want to trust him with my fantasy team. But seeing him last year was very, very impressive, and I think he got pretty unlucky. So he's one of those sleeper guys that people aren't talking about enough, I think. All right, Sarah, give me your last bold prediction.
So this is more of an overarching strategy prediction than anything else. But one of the things that I've noticed is, starting pitchers are really rising in drafts this year, and that's understandable given what's happened in the last couple of years. However, I think with the announcement that MLB is deadening the ball, their track record with not really understanding what the implications of messing around with the ball are, and the fact that there are 5 new humidors somewhere and we don't know where they are, I actually think that home runs and power might be at more of a premium than people think. And at the moment, I think a lot of draft strategies are sort of revolving around the idea that I can get those home runs later. There's a lot of cheaper 25, 30 home run guys. I don't actually think there are. I think a lot of those guys who you think are your cheap 25, 30 home run guys hanging out in the 100 to 150 slot are probably going to be hitting a lot of long fly balls. So it's worth it to take a few minutes and make sure that you're checking on Baseball Savant for who hits doubters and who hits no doubters. Which of those home runs are cheap and going to be fly balls, and which of those home runs are real and are going to go 400 feet instead of 420 this season.
Dude, you just absolutely killed that. That's amazing. Nice. I love that because, you're right. Like, what does MLB do? They screw things up, right? They go, we've got an idea. Let's try this. Well, what's that going to do? I don't know. Let's see. So, I could totally see it having a bigger impact than maybe people are projecting. I think there was an article, and I can't remember who wrote it. And so I'm sorry for not giving credit, but they said, like, they're projecting like a 5% decrease in home runs. But if it's more like 10%, we could be really looking for power in a way that we haven't had to do in the last decade, especially in the last few years. So I love that call out. I'm definitely going to incorporate that kind of strategy into my drafts because I don't know what's going to happen. I think, I was on a podcast recently where they asked me, like, I was on the Wire. It was just released this morning. So you go listen. Kevin Hastings, TGFBI winner, Adam Howe, and my wife was on it with me. And they asked me what stat category could change the most in Roto this year. And I was like, all of them? Like, if the ball is dead, that's going to affect everything except for stolen bases probably. And who knows what teams are going to do with stolen bases now that we've got a full season. We definitely saw teams shift their thinking in a short season. So it could be a nightmare for fantasy owners. So, keep listening, keep getting great insight from people like Sarah, people like Jason and Dan and Johnny and Lou, because we're going to figure it out. And they're not using these balls in spring training, right? So we don't even know. Right. So here we go. All right, Johnny, give me your last bold prediction.
All right, before I do, I'm going to say, damn you, Lou, for your White Sox prediction. The Twins are winning the AL Central. But sorry, I'm going to go.
Hurt sometimes, man.
No. That's all right. That's all right. We'll win the AL Central, and we'll get swept in the first round because we can't win a playoff game in the past 20 years. But aside from that, I'm still going to go with a homer pick here as my last bold prediction. Alex Kirilloff is going to win the Rookie of the Year in the American League. Kid had Tommy John surgery 2017, missed the whole year. But in A-ball, combined in 2 stops in A-ball in 2018 when he came back, played 130 games, had 20 home runs and 100 ribbies, and hit 350. Now, he had a slightly off year last year in 2019 and obviously didn't play in 2020. But now with Eddie Rosario, who you mentioned earlier, going over to Cleveland, open spot in left field, Kirilloff in 2019 played 35 games at first base also, and we know how Miguel Sano is. He's either hurt or he's striking out 20 times a day. So I think Kirilloff gets plenty of playing time. He's going to be up probably right out of spring training to start in left field and play some first base. And I think the kid just flat out hits. A lot of people talking about Andrew Vaughn and Jared Kelenic when they come up and stuff like that, but I think Kirilloff's going to take the Rookie of the Year this year.
That's a bold prediction. I feel like there might be a little bit of homerism in this.
Just a little bit.
I like the Twins. Kirilloff's an interesting prospect. I don't know that I'm buying in that he's going to be like a stud from the get-go. He could. We've seen other top prospects do this, but I'm definitely on the Jared Kelenic train. Like, to me, like, I think that kid could be up day one because of all the fiasco in Seattle with their president, mouthing off in a way he shouldn't. But if he's not, he's up at the end of the month in April, and I mean, he is just such a good hitter. It's so hard for me to see anybody passing him in Rookie of the Year. But this is why it's a bold prediction. You put your homerism behind it, you get going, and you say, Alex Kirilloff, that's my guy. I love it.
Well, let's remember too what you're saying about Kalenic. Now, I love Kalenic just as much as the next guy, but also too, everyone was blowing up Vlad Jr. And what did he do his rookie year? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I said, it's a homer pick. Whatever. If it works out, I look like a genius.
There you go. I love it. Well, and that's the thing about prospects, right? Prospects, there's an old adage that, prospects are suspect until proven otherwise. And I think we've been blessed over the last, 5 years or so with some of these prospects coming up and just being absolutely amazing when they first get here. The Juan Sotos, the Acuñas, the Tatises, but we forget about the guys that came up and disappointed us, or that just didn't produce, got hurt, got sent back down. And we just kind of forget that is more likely. Baseball is a hard sport, especially when you're playing against the best pitchers or the best hitters in the world. A lot of guys struggle in their first go around. So it wouldn't surprise me if Kalenic did struggle. It wouldn't surprise me if Kirilloff struggled. It wouldn't surprise me if both of them were good either. So, we all love the youth, but I think we overrated a little bit in fantasy as well. All right, Dan, finish us out here. We've been waiting on this Cleveland bold prediction that you have.
Well, I think it's more of a culmination of the stuff I've been talking about. And first, Justin, thanks for doing this. Thanks for putting this together, the hard work you put in. Thanks to your wife for putting up with you.
Yeah, it's all her. It's not me. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm the one sitting here, and she did throw this into the chat earlier. So I'll definitely, she let me know what she thinks of what I say sometimes. But all kidding aside, like, she allows me to do stuff like that, which I don't think most wives would let their husband just sit on a live stream for 2 straight days, even though it's going to a great cause that she supports. She's a saint, even no matter what she says about me on Twitter.
All right, check is in the mail. The big thing for me this year, and Sarah touched on the offensive side. For me, the pitching side is we don't know. Like, this year is one of those where we sort of throw our hands up, not knowing what 2020 means for 2021, not knowing what these managers are going to do. Are we going to see 6-man rotations? Are we going to see 5-inning outings or 4 2/3 from some of these elite starters to keep their arms healthy? And I think there's a lot of guessing happening. So my guess is that we will not see a single starting pitcher over 16 wins this year. And so I think we're going to see a ton more of the middle relievers of the Devin Williams of the world on the top end, but guys down in the middle who are picking up 5, 6, 7 vulture wins, who have decent peripherals, who are going to win fantasy leagues. So the bold prediction is that there isn't a single starting pitcher over 16 wins. And I think like Clace there in Cleveland, I think he's down in the 300s. He's the kind of guy I think you're going to get really cheap, maybe even off the waiver wire if you're in a 12-team league, that's going to make a difference on your team. So I think wins are going to be tough to come by. And you're going to be sort of hunting and pecking around in these middle relievers and, the Dylan Betances of the world. That, like, these guys who you don't really want to draft because the track record's not there, but you're trying to figure out how to piece together that win column because I don't think they're going to be there as much for the starting pitching.
All right. I mean, I kind of agree with you. One of the things I said coming into last season, once we knew it was a shortened season, and I'm repeating apparently this time around, is there's no track record for this, right? We never had a 60-game season, and so we never had the season after a 60-game season. And so we just have no idea what teams are going to do. And to be quite honest, I don't know if all the teams know what they're going to do. I think a lot of them are flying by the seat of their pants. Yep. They're going to make it up as they go along. And, if something seems to be working for one team, you may see a bunch of other teams start to do that. So whether that's 6-man rotations or pulling out guys in the 4th or 5th inning, it's going to be really, really difficult to project a lot of that this year. And anybody who tells you, just like I said this last year, anybody who tells you they know exactly how to draft or how to do, handle the 2021 craziness that's going to happen is lying to you. We don't know. None of us know. We're making educated guesses. We're using the information we have to, give the best information possible. But the bottom line is there's no track record. Next pandemic, hopefully not in our lifetime. Then we'll know how to handle it. But this time around, we're all guessing and just taking the given information and putting out what we think is potentially the most likely outcomes. All right. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. It was an absolute blast. I really, really appreciate y'all coming on and sharing your bold predictions with me, with everybody, helping raise money for Mental Health America. I want to thank everybody that has been donating. Continue to donate. That ticker down below is there. It tells you where to donate. JustinMasonFantasy@gmail.com, at Justin Salinger on Venmo. We are currently at a total of $5,371. So we're creeping up on that $6,000 raised last year. I really appreciate it. I'm going to unceremoniously boot you all out as I do at the end of every segment. I appreciate y'all coming. And then I'm going to bring in my next crew. So goodbye, Lou. Goodbye, Jason. Goodbye, Sarah. All right. So yeah, keep donating, everybody. It's been a lot of fun. This crew that I'm bringing in is unlike any other crew that I have had so far on Podapolooza, or that I had on last year, or that I've ever had on my podcast, because we're going to be talking about something that I know absolutely nothing about. So we're going to be talking about baseball cards, because I don't know enough about baseball cards, and they're hot right now, and these guys know more than me. So what I'm going to do is let me introduce the panel first. And John, welcome to the show.
Yes, Justin, man, we've been spending a lot of time together during this prep season, and man, I'm really excited. Just like 2 years ago, I was on the other side of the computer screen. Like, man, this Justin guy seems pretty cool. So this is pretty great. And of course, you're doing your thing, man. Like I always say, the birds are flying, the fish are swimming, and Justin is helping the community. I mean, these things become so innate that we kind of ignore it. So really, the spotlight is on you, man. Justin, you do so much good. Seriously, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. But like I've said before, with things like TGFBI or any opportunity I've had to raise money for good causes, the credit really goes to the community, the fantasy sports community, the fantasy baseball community, for coming together and supporting things like this, supporting things like PitchGun, supporting things like TGFBI, because, I mean, I'm one person and I can help organize things for sure. But if people don't come and donate, people don't come and support these things, they don't take off. And the right. Fantasy industry is filled with a bunch of amazing men and women that have just been so supportive of all the things that I do and all the kind of events that I put together. So I'll take the credit. I love credit. Like, there's no humility here, but I also have to give credit where it's due. And that's all the analysts, all the people who listen and read content out there supporting these things. They're really doing the hard, heavy lifting. John, remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug everything you do.
All right now I'm at MLB Moving Averages. I'm on all day, all night. I have young kids. I don't sleep much, particularly this time of year. And I've dropped a ton of stuff at FTN Fantasy. It's all free right now. And my podcast, Corked Stats, is just going crazy every day. We're doing something. I've had Gamble and Cardi and Carlton in, plus positional previews. It's been really crazy. Check it out. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. Thanks.
And one of the cool prizes we're giving away at the end. It's going to be in the last segment. Chris Meany wanted to be on. He may try to sneak away from his family at the end of Podapolooza, but he doesn't think he's going to be able to. But he was like, I want to donate something. So he's donating an MLB bets package for the season. And so that is super cool.
Oh, that's nice.
I know you are a betting guy.
I'm behind that.
Yeah, exactly. So if you like John, you like his content, donate right now. Donate throughout the rest of the day.
Oh, man, that's really cool, man. I get at it come the season, man. I get at it. It's 7 days a week, basically 24 hours a day. I'm trying to, no one, whatever. It takes a certain kind of Tasmanian devil to do it, so.
All right. Also joining us is my main man, Scott Chu. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here. I heard you say that this is unlike, any panel you've had before because you don't know what we're talking about, and that struck me as interesting because that's every panel, Justin. That's how we always do this. So, but I think the cards thing is new, so I'm excited to be here for it.
I just left myself wide open for that, and I didn't even see it coming. I mean,
all that positive stuff you guys were saying, like, it's all true. So I couldn't let that be all we did, right? Like, Danielle would just be furious if all we did was talk about, like, great things you do. So I had to get that in, just to make sure that both sides were represented.
Yeah, that was a pitch just left belt high, just that you just whacked right now. Remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on social media at If the Chew Fits, if the CHU fits. You can find my work. I've got a lot of stuff over at Pitcher List right now. Did all the hitter rankings that they've got up in their draft kits. You can check that out. Got some podcasts. We actually just had one released this morning called PL Shorts. You can look that up. We actually talked a little bit about betting. All off season, we're going to talk about some of our favorite bets, like to win divisions. We talked about the stolen base leader bet. So we talk about that stuff, and it's like 10, 15-minute pod. So you can check that out. I've also got Hacks and Jacks, where right now we're talking about all my rankings. That's going to come out tomorrow. And then, I've got some stuff over at Friends with Fantasy Benefits too, right? So did a couple of the team previews. Those are out there. And throughout the season, I'm hoping to, get some pods done and just talk about regular baseball because that's what I love doing.
Yep, and you're one of my favorite people in the industry. Plus, fantasy curling.
Fantasy curling's hot right now, man. We got the Scotties, the championship. The women's championship in Canada. That's going on right now. So if you've got ESPN, you can actually watch the curling, which, look, you don't need to know a lot about curling to enjoy curling, right? Like, just listen to them yell and sweep and throw rocks at stuff, and, like, you'll figure it out, right? Like, it's not unlike cornhole or bocce ball. It's just on ice because it's Canadian, right? So, that's just how they do every sport, but it's a lot of fun. It's free to play. We'll actually have another event coming up here in about a week for the Briar, which is the men's championship. So a lot of cool curling stuff going on.
And just like baseball, right? I don't know anything about curling, so I'll participate, right?
Oh, neither do I. I just invented the game, right? Like I invented the fantasy curling. I don't know anything about curling. I'm doing much better than usual in the fantasy contest this time. I'm ranked like 120th out of 240. That's really good for me. I invented it, but I'm terrible, just awful at the game.
Hey, I invented TGFBI, and I think historical standings. I'm like 200th, so what is what it is, right? We get the credit for inventing, and then we don't place well.
It makes me wish we would have made better rules to make sure that we won. Like something in there that just is like, oh, and if you have a 5-letter first name and a 3-letter last name, that's worth 50 points. That's 50 points.
There we go, right?
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, no, I should have done it. I think some people originally were like, Justin's going to put himself in easy leagues and stuff. But no, I'm just getting I put really tough guys in my league and just get the pants beaten off of me every season. So, and no different this year, going up against guys like Ian Kahn and Ariel Cohen. I'm just, Dan Strafford, just screwing myself left and right. Joining us as well is Joe. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Justin. I'm glad to be here. Just to refute this point you made, you put me in your league, so you did line up at least one fish.
There we go. See, I totally forgot you were in my league. So there we go. I can finish 14th if Joe's saying he's a fish. Then I can finish 14th. But I'm looking forward. What draft spot you got, Joe?
I'm 13th.
Okay, so we're not drafting near each other. We won't be sniping each other too much. I will yell at you though on the Prospects Live Discord if you do snipe me though. I'm just gonna let you know. Remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug your work.
For sure. You can find me on Twitter at jhook, JH00K, and I am a talking baseball cards guy. You can find all my work at Prospects Live. I write a ton of articles over there. I just launched a podcast. It's in the Prospects Live feed with my hobby buddy, Ryan Regal. We're focused on all the hobby news, the latest releases, and of our prospects cards. So we tend to touch on a lot of that as well.
All right, and this is why I had you on the panel, and you said like, hey, if you want to talk cards, I'm game to do that. And I know nothing about baseball cards other than they used to come in the little packs, and now everybody's buying them all over the place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to throw it over to Scott to host for a few minutes, so that way I can take a quick break, use the restroom, and then I'll be back to soak up all the knowledge. So Scott, take it away.
Yeah, sure thing, man. I mean, I guess we can let you have a little bit of a break. You've only been potting for like 15 hours so far over the last 2 days. So, I mean, 10, 15 minutes if you need it, I guess, is fine.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys, and it's kind of cool to be on here and to talk about baseball cards, but I also have to recognize that almost everything I know about baseball cards, Joe taught me over in the Prospects Live Discord. So if you guys aren't in that, you should be. Joe's dropping great stuff all the time, and there's a lot of things about the hobby I don't know. What I do know is how I got into it, and it was really partially because I got bored sitting in my house and felt like sort of getting back into it and taking baseball cards, but also because I love fantasy baseball, and this is another way for me to enjoy players, right? Like, my favorite thing about fantasy baseball is rooting for my favorite players, and I don't always have a chance to do that, right? Like, I'm a Tigers fan, so we got a couple kids coming up, but there's not a lot to root for in Detroit quite yet in terms of winning and losing, so I try to get into other teams, and one of the ways to do that, baseball cards, man, I get to pull cards, rip cards, all about my favorite players, maybe their prospects, maybe whatever. So to me, it's a real supplement to how I try to enjoy baseball, and that's how it works for me. Fantasy and cards, to me, it's just all an extension of the same thing. And I'm wondering, and I'll start with you, John. Like, what got you back in, and how does it connect with the rest of the way that you enjoy baseball?
Man, it all ties in so very well. So long story short, I was into it as a youth. I always played baseball. We went to the ballpark and all that stuff, and I collected all the cards. Now, unfortunately, that was the beginning of the mass production era. So people were collecting, thinking it was going to be worth something. Meanwhile, everybody and their mom has 12 gem mints of this or whatever, and it kind of blew up. So I got away from the business end of it, kind of being soured. I was a kid. I spent a lot of my money on it, right? Allowance money or whatever side job money I can get on baseball cards, and they didn't really, pan out. So intuitively, it kind of makes sense. I was a bit soured on it for a while. Then you kind of fast forward to me as an adult, where baseball is firmly entrenched in, my family's being fed. It went from like what was a hobby, and I had a career that I got very hurt and I could no longer do, to me starting to, push my other skills and traits and interests a bit further, which is something, man, we got right to it. I was hoping we were going to get to for people is, you got to monetize those passions, right? So it's not just like, oh, I got back into it because it's fun and they're cute. And I get it. Listen, if you got money and you have time for that, then you should do that. But if you don't and you need to make money from your hobbies, then there's a really good avenue for this also, right? So it could be enjoyable. You could interweave it into your fantasy baseball, which I do, but it could also become monetized. The reason I already kind of threw my cold water on it, like I really am very black and white with the ledger. Unfortunately, my time has a worth to it, and it's got to pay the bills. But that's what I want to get to, that this can, with your love of fantasy baseball, and where this really ties into exactly what you were saying was, so because I'm a professional handicapper and a volume off-season player, draft and holds and best balls, in-season management can be very hard. I'm already working 18 to 20 hours a day. So unless I figure out how to add extra hours to Earth, then, I have to find places where I could kind of jettison workload. Full season fantasy long baseball is one of those things. More particularly something like Dynasty or Keepers take extra long time. I cannot do it. Here's where it all kind of weaves. My interest in Dynasty, I know the players, a bit of them. I was just talking to Joe, quick tangent. He's excellent at what he does. Everybody follow him up. Hit up the Prospect Live podcast. They're talking about this stuff that we're talking about. It's kind of a niche thing, but if you're into it, you got to go the way the info is, and he's got it. Right, so I wanted to expand my knowledge of prospects. It could also help my fantasy stuff. And, man, you want to get in these players early. You could very much equate them to the stock market. It's very much like a stock. In fact, it probably more mirrors a commodity. If there are anybody out there that's a little more into the technicals there, it probably mirrors like a physical, tangible market, right? It doesn't move as fast as a liquid stock. Buy, sell, buy, sell. You can't do that. It has to be shipped. We need delivery and things like that. So there are different aspects to the businesses. I'm already kind of savvy with that stuff. And I figured, hey, man, what better way to expand my fantasy baseball game and my personal kind of ventures? I'm very entrepreneurial in manner, I guess, than to add this in. And, man, I started really trying to specialize. Joe will probably get more into this. my advice to people just hopping in that have no idea is get specialized. There's too much to try and master it all. You're never going to do this. I mean, it's funny, as a commodity, right? If we're looking for future value, we want things people can rely on. So I can be a bit of a snob when it comes to card collecting. Say what you will. I don't do the box breaking. I don't have the time, nor do I want to risk the money, which is funny because I put quite a bit of money into it. I'd rather pay straight up for the PSA 10 gem mint, because to me, there's that word commodity. That's the commodity. When you want to flip something, I'm going to the front of the line if I have the PSA 10 gem, right? It's fully backed, it's blockchain certified and all that good stuff. And it's what it is. It's counted, it's populated, it's legitimized. So that's where I'm at. In a million words or less, right? I use card collecting as my dynasty baseball, but also it's another feather in my cap towards monetization. I mean, people often ask me how I could be short of 40 and semi-retired. Like, I don't work. This is part of it. When you see ideas that you think you can capitalize on, and again, in a very short time, I've been very successful. I made quite a bit of money, particularly percentage-wise, on this stuff. A lot of these cards, if you pick the right ones, they're up in value by the time they get delivered to your house. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm loving this so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's really interesting to sort of look at the two ways that John and I really approach this hobby. And I kind of want to pivot to Joe for a second because, I mean, we've both talked about how Joe is really the expert. Like, if there's anyone that if I have a question about cards, like, Joe is the guy I'm going to. So, Joe, I know a lot of people have probably asked you about this, but talk about how you balance those different ways to enjoy the hobby, and maybe a little bit about how you do it. Someone who I think has been in it far longer than I have, at least, and maybe than a lot of people. So how do you balance how you enjoy the hobby, you know, the monetization versus the I love baseball players sort of thing?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And you know, John makes a lot of good points. And you know, I think there's a lot of different avenues for enjoying this hobby. And
Yes.
you know, definitely if the money side of the hobby is where you want to be, there's a lot of money to be made, especially right now with the peaks of the, I don't know if we're at the peak, but we're definitely at heights the market has never seen from a financial perspective in the hobby. And you know, I don't think you have to focus on one thing, but again, to John's point, you can't focus on everything, right? So right. To me, I like to mix a bit of it in personally collecting the players and the teams that mean something to me, right? As you can see, I'm a Giants fan, so I'll be collecting my Giants players for sure, right? The Buster Posies, which, you know, are, you know, kind of crossing the line. Yep, there you go. So sometimes you can mix those things, right? So Buster Posey is also a decent hobby investment long term, because in all likelihood he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame, right? You want to collect the elite guys to monetize that side of the hobby. And then you want to mix in a little bit of lottery tickets, and definitely on the prospect side, that is kind of what it is. You buy and hold, and you hope your speculation pays off long term. But then I'm also collecting guys like Brandon Crawford, right? He's a lifelong Giants fan as a kid. He's got a lot of photos of him being at Candlestick Park watching the Giants games, and he's a great Giants player. Not necessarily a great hobby player from the perspective of long-term investment, but I love him, so I collect them, you know? So I think but again, you don't want to do everything. There's, I don't know, 100 different products or more every year that you can dip your toe into. And you want to find the products, one, that speak to you, and then two, that will hold value long-term, right? You don't want to go out and pick up, you know, the unlicensed stuff if you're trying to flip. You know, the Paninis, Leafs, Onyx of the world should be more for your personal collection. You want to go for the quality, the cream of the crop. When it comes to prospects, you know, that's Bowman. When it comes to rookies, it's Topps flagship Series 1, Series 2, and update, and then Topps Chrome and Chrome update. But you also want to do your homework, right? You don't want to buy into these products when the checklists are not good, which we saw this past year with 2020 update series from Topps. The checklist was bad. Now we may find ourselves changing that thinking in a couple years. But at the moment, it's just not a place where you want to be unless you're going after a specific guy for your personal collection. So find your lane, find what you're interested in, and don't worry if that changes. I've changed my collecting habits regularly and who I collect regularly, but always, always, always do your homework. Ask questions. There are no stupid questions in this hobby. You know, I as Scott said, he's asked me questions all the time. I love answering them. I love growing this hobby.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that whole finding your niche, finding your lane, that's so important because, like, you know, like both of them have really said, there's so many ways to go, right? Like, maybe you get into collecting a certain type of card, right? So, like, I know I'm a big fan of Topps' Allen and Ginter, which I love. It's like an old school feel to it, and it's also weird, right? They've got cards in it that are like it's like Creatures in the Dark or something like that, right? It's got these little glow in the dark cards about like where monsters live is what it's called, right? And Bugging Out, like they've got little cards for like different types of insects. I love it. I love that it's like this weird set. And there's other people that hate it because, one, it's not a huge return on investment product, right? Like they have a lot of relics and stuff, but there's just not a lot of big hits in it. And, you know, there's other people that don't like it because they love stuff like Stadium Club with like the elite, you know, photos and the sweet angles that they get on some, you know, like the over the top shots of pitchers and things that you only find in Stadium Club. So yeah, I think the next question I really have for folks
is, Scott, could I expand on what you said real quick? Okay, because again, you know, I hate to interrupt, but when I feel like it's like super pertinent for actionable information for the audience, that's when I'll just kind of be rude and me and you know, like you can yell at me later. All right, man. Joe, me and you are going to get along great. He's going to be on Cork Stats tomorrow with Ryan, and we are going to dive headlong into all this. But what I wanted to get for today, because it's like an introduction thing, is I hope I didn't imply or like insinuate at all that the money making is at the top. I could argue the real percentage gains are found at the bottom. So what you want to do is similar to any business structure. You're going to have somebody like me, consider me a high-end collector, a Wall Street broker, whatever you want. There's always going to be somebody a couple rungs up the ladder. That doesn't mean the product doesn't have to get up there. So when you hear people say that the commodity to them is the PSA 10 graded card that they're willing to pay for, you need to be asking yourself, how do I get on those early? Maybe the answer is not to deal in the graded card like I do. Again, I have a lot of experience with it, and something I would suggest now, this applies also to the bottom rungs of the ladder, is listen, this is not like a fantasy league with your 11 other friends where you don't want to insult Joe by sending him a bum trade because he's your buddy. These are people you don't know, and man, I hate to get into the weeds on this stuff because we're talking business, guys. Please don't think poorly of me. I'm just, it's dollars and cents. This is a hard world. And it's numbers, people, okay? And the real world has real problems. Before you go to bed every night, go through your watch list for all the cards you want and send embarrassingly low, insulting, low-ball offers to every stranger all over the country that you can find looking for the one person with marital problems, rent problems, mortgage problems, food problems, who knows, drug addiction, or who cares what. Maybe it's somebody that just made 100% return and is like, you know what, I just want out of this. I want out. Find that, because I'm going to tell you, it sounds silly. I do that every night, and I wake up every single night with an accepted offer that is almost embarrassing. In fact, we could be talking 25, 30%, not just below fair market value, but below a buy it now price, which makes no sense. But there you go, people. If you don't think, just because you don't think, I should say, there's an inefficiency in the market doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Knock on the door, kick the tires, just make sure that you turn every stone, right? Because I'll tell you what, just the other day, before bed, this is like 3 days ago, I really am dying for a Acuna Chrome rookie. I'm a little late to this party, right? It's already a hot ticket. It's going to cost you, geez, $400 at this point, maybe a little bit more, plus shipping tax and like. I put out an offer for $250 thinking in a perfect world, I would want to pay $250 knowing I could flip it for $300, $350. I'm going to make 35% on this bad boy, no problem. Woke up in the morning, ding, ding, ding. It was in the bag. because I took the effort. So again, it's not, these things don't come to me. I work really, really, really hard, but you could do the same at the bottom. You could find the loose cards that aren't graded, get hooked up with a guy who does maybe the pre-grading, right? Joe's nodding. I'm loving this, man, right? We're on the right track, people. You could turn your love into money while you're having fun, like he said. I don't mean to discourage the fun part, but I wanted to make sure that I stressed there's money at every level. And guess what? If you cop the ungraded card and get it graded for a plus, you're talking about 1,000% returns, multiple 1,000% returns on a single hit. So if you big picture this thing, you should be capitalizing yourself to make small purchases that could turn into big ones. It's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think where that takes me is just thinking about, like, there's lots of ways to get baseball cards these days, right? And the one thing that I think maybe those that are considering getting into the hobby are finding out is that the way that used to be the easiest, which was going to your local Target, your local Walmart, getting cards, that's probably the hardest now, right? Like that is, for many people, for many people, that is the impossible way. I mean, there are people that are in this hobby that, you know, they're not my favorite folks in the hobby, but, you know, no offense to anyone who does this. Like, there are folks that don't even open cards, right? They just buy sealed product and flip it, right? They buy all the hanger packs at the Walmart and flip them online for, you know, a percentage return every single time. Those folks are out there too. So there's a lot of ways to get into it. And I think the next question is thinking about
Walmart right now. I'm on my way
to good luck, man. I'd say that the one thing I would say is, you know, and I'll go to Joe. Joe, can you talk about some ways that people can get their hands on cards? Because, you know, their local Target has probably been sold out since they opened this morning, right? Like, they've been gone. So, Joe, can you tell some folks how they can get cards?
Yeah, before 2020, it was Target and Walmart. You know, the retail shelves. You go, you dip your toe into the water, you find what you like, what products you like, and to John's point, you enjoy it, but you also see which ones sell the best, and right. Determine if that's, you know, where you want to go with it, you know, and make that a part of your hobby process. Nowadays, as Scott said, it's pretty much impossible to find anything of any value and even something for your personal collection on the retail shelves. So, you know, you gotta
hold on, can I cut you off real quick, Joe? They left me in front of the mic. Is there any pathway right now? Because again, I'm literally learning. As you know, I've come to you in the back. You know, this is not like a show thing. I'm really curious. Is there a retail avenue even open? I didn't even know that. I thought you guys were kind of kidding. We're talking about just busting open packs, looking for big gems. And even to that point, even if you could expand, when you open up a pack, can you trust that it's a high quality card, that the corners aren't dinged or whatever?
No.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder that as a collector now, and you listen to grade PSA, the cost of PSA. We're going to end up talking about this tomorrow because we don't have enough time for this. The cost of PSA going through the roof and the backlog gets created is actually part of this market push, people. So if you're looking for indications of people saying the card market are going to crash, said the stock market was going to crash, and eventually they're going to be right. And what? Put their nose up and take a victory lap? I made $1 million while you were talking about this. So but people focus on the backlog in grading because it's putting pressure on the market. Joe was talking about retail again. Sorry, man.
Yeah. So the loose packs, I just recommend against, right? Because the quality of the cards are going to be seriously impacted on a regular basis. If you can find them in what we tend to call blaster boxes, you can find them in what we call hanger boxes. Sometimes they're mega boxes. Those tend to protect the cards a bit more in retail shelves. And we refer to Target and Walmart as kind of the places to go, but those are just the primary places to go, right? There's other kind of out of the way places you wouldn't expect where you can pick up retail occasionally. You know, back in the day it used to be Toys R Us, but rest in peace, Toys R Us. The Walgreens will have some, you know, typically just your Topps flagship products at some Walgreens, and then you can find them places like Party City. If you have a Party City in your area, you can find some flagship stuff occasionally.
Is the pricing always uniform, or should we be on the lookout for different prices in different stores?
Yeah, typically the pricing is uniform for these products, and another out of the way spot that's been cropping up over the last year is actually Barnes and Noble. So it's and again, the prices are kind of set on those, which again gives the flippers the opportunity to make a decent amount of money on it. There's your local card shops, which has been the traditional place back, when we were collecting back in the day, John, during the junk wax era.
Right.
That was
Yep.
typically the place you'd go, or kind of the Kmarts of the world as well. But in addition, kind of the market has shifted more towards online retailers, but you're paying markup there. They're paying whatever, pennies on the dollar for what they're selling. So you just have to be aware. And again, if you're buying to sell, you want to go with the quality there.
Where do you physically buy from, though? Like, where can we physically go? Because I got eBay, and now I feel like I've taxed that resource, right? You don't want to press.
Mhm.
I'm not going to start paying bad prices. I was looking at this StockX thing, which looks very accurate for pricing, but man, I'm worried. I want to deal with secondhand folk because that's where the edge is going to be. You're not going to find much edge in a card shop. You know what I'm saying? So, like, is there any way that we can still go and get this?
Yeah, again, it's the places I mentioned, outside of the card shops, it's your retail locations. In theory, right, there's card shows that are starting to crop back up, but again, those guys are all secondhand. They've already paid it through the distributor prices, and they're trying to make their money on it. So again, Target, Walmart, Walgreens, Party City, sometimes even
like for me, like if I came to you and said, Joe, I'm targeting a specific card. Joe, I'm looking for an Acuna bad. Where do I get my hands in this thing? If let's say eBay shuts down tomorrow, how do we target specific cards?
Right. So again, there's secondary marketplaces outside of eBay. eBay just happens to be the de facto marketplace. You're like you said, StockX for the PSA graded stuff. StockX doesn't sell raw. There's consignment places. The main one being ComC, COMC.com. And so they'll sell on eBay, but they also have a ton on their own storefront. So you can search there. And it's kind of nice that you can go and dump a bunch of cards into raw and graded into your cart there and kind of get an efficiency on shipping in and of itself because it's a single shipper. And if you wanted to pick up 20 different cards on eBay, you're probably dealing with 20 different sellers. So
tell me about it, man. It's brutal.
So, and you'll get a bit of a discount. Then that, so if ComC has a buy it now price on eBay, you have a ComC account, you just go to ComC, which is free for a ComC account, and you'll actually find the card on ComC for a cheaper price than what they're listing it for as a buy it now on eBay.
I didn't want to laugh. It's so funny, man. You actually you kind of circumvented my next piece of advice. I was going to tell people, don't offer that company the listed price because they will. Yeah. You can get them down, and there have been opportunities I've gotten them down quite a bit. But to what, man, Joe, you make so many good points. I really can't wait for tomorrow to really get into it. And that I don't know if people have seen, not to promote them because I don't really make much money on them. I was just kind of testing the market. I'm doing my own research. I've done these MLB MA Gem raffles where I've raffled off first Bauman Chromes and stuff. You give people a chance at a card they may not buy in the store because it's going to be $150 or something, and give them a shot to win it in a raffle for $10 or $11 or something. But yeah, it sours people sometimes when they see the money. They think I'm pocketing all of it, but it's really not the case. You got to send all this stuff certified mail, and you still pay tax on it, which is a heartbreaker. To take an 8% hit right off the bat, which goes even further to why it's so important to get below fair market value. It's really, really, really tough. And I think it's just funny. This is a really good kind of tie-in to what Scott was saying originally was, how does it tie into your fantasy baseball? And I think the answer is, if you want to profit, it has to tie into your fantasy baseball because I don't know how well I'm going to do paying Acuna. May be a different animal, but you can't even afford a Soto right now. The Soto cards I want, because again, I want commodities. I want PSA 10, Gem Mint, Refractors, or First Bauman Chromes. Those cards like $5,500. Like, yeah, I got money, but that's kind of crazy. I'm not going to do that because I don't know where the ceiling is after that. Where I'm getting at is, how about this? Oh, my man. Now, if you're Joe and you want to make a couple bucks, you call a guy like me who thinks it might make the next step, and everybody can make a ton of money on this thing. Now, to the point I was talking about buying in low and how it works in a fantasy, all of a sudden, every prospect guy I've ever known is starting to get DMs from me in the middle of the night. And I'm like, because I've collected all the guys I wanted. So now that I got all the guys that we know on the surface, I have to dig below. And it's, wow, man, now I'm into the 2020 releases, and I don't really know these guys. I was hitting up Joe, asking him who the hot names are. I just copped a green refractor gem mint apostle. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what that is. In fact, Rob DiPietro said, it sounds like a painting that's hanging in a European museum. The green apostle. You know, it sounds so, yes.
The gold wave. Yeah, and like, I think there's something, there's two things I want to point out here as we're going through this. And, first, there's a gold wave for you right there. I mean, one thing I want to point out is that Soto thing, right? Like, Soto, it's one of the hottest cards out there. If I'm not mistaken, when those Soto cards were first available, he was completely unknown. Like, he was like a giveaway. Like, people were like, oh, you bought some cards for me, thanks. I'll tuck in an extra card for you. How about a Juan Soto, right? Like, there's a bunch of sellers out there that are thinking, like, I gave away 10 grand. You had no idea at the time, right? Because it wasn't 10 grand then, it was $1. Yeah. So, that if you have a thought on a prospect, baseball cards are yet another way. You can invest in prospects you love in fantasy baseball. Play Dynasty, play Keeper, whatever. If you want to do it in another way, real
quick there, Scott. On it's a funny story on the Bowman side for Juan Soto. His first Bowman was in 2016 Bowman Chrome, right? And 2016 Bowman Chrome, as it was being released, was considered one of the worst releases at that time. The only card that anybody was interested in that product was Vladimir Guerrero. There was some people looking at, I think, some guy from the Red Sox who didn't pan out, Sam Travis.
There's a name.
So but it goes to what you were saying about the hot potato. Unless you love the team and the guy like Joe does, and you don't mind watching that stock nosedive, these things will, and often do go to essentially zero, where they're barely worth the price of the grading, and they just become a sentimental item.
Yeah, I mean, people are selling Topps Update at a loss.
Yeah. Hey guys, exactly. I'm gonna jump in just real quick because I want to remind. Yeah, I know. I'm back, right? Here we go. It's a little bit warmer in my office. I can put on a T-shirt. But I just want to we got about a little less than 10 minutes left. I want to give everybody an opportunity to promote their work and tell people where they can be on social media. So if you want cards, if you want to get into this hobby like these guys are, and either it's you're collecting for yourself or collecting to make money. There's lots of different ways you can approach it, but I want people to be able to follow you guys so that way they can ask questions and maybe trade with you, maybe buy stuff off you. Who knows, maybe sell stuff to you. John, remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug everything you got going on.
Right. So I'm at MLB Moving Averages. Again, if you kind of like the raffle idea, you could look for the tag MLBMA Gems, MLB Moving Averages Gems. It's a unique hashtag, so you can always look. You can see what I've offered and how it's gone. It's gone really, really well. It's a lot of fun and a kind of a cool way to throw 10 or 15 bucks and come back with a gem mint rookie card of somebody that might be awesome. Got a lot of stuff going on in FTNFantasy.com. But right now, man, the thing I'm most excited about is the Cork Stats podcast and tomorrow's baseball card episode with Joe. And I can't wait to meet Ryan. If you got a little taste of it, it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of information and like legit actionable stuff. I'm going to go so far as to say, if you are curious to get started, you'll be able to do so with some efficacy after tomorrow's episode. Joe, I can't wait. It was great meeting you guys. And Justin, thank you.
Definitely. Joe, remind everybody where you can be reached and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. My Twitter is @jhook, and I write a bunch of articles for Prospects Live. I do a podcast there with my buddy Ryan Regal. We're can be found in the Prospects Live podcast feed called the Local Card Pod, just to take off on the local card shop. And by all means, hit me up on Twitter. go to the Prospects Live Discord. We have a baseball card channel there. We talk cards all the time there. Go to the Friends with Fantasy Benefits Discord. I hang out there. They have a baseball card channel as well. Like I said, I love talking baseball cards. I love helping new collectors out. Whatever it is, hit me up. Let's talk some cards.
Yeah. Awesome.
Definitely. I don't know. I don't think my wife's going to let me jump on the card train with you guys. But maybe I could sneak some packs in. You
Well, I
guys
think
gave a lot
we
of
started with a couple $100. I mean, I know I don't mean to speak for other people's money, but I feel like with literally probably $100 or $200, if you're smart and measured, you could make some moves. You start hacking away those percentage points. Before you know it, man, I'm telling you, I'm meticulous, and I've already started making cash. It's out there, and I'm not even really pushing for profits.
And Justin, I mean, I've got some Lewis Brinson cards. I mean, come on.
Oh, I love me some Lewis Brinson. There you go. Scott, remind everybody where you can be reached, and remind people what you do as well.
Yeah, for sure. So you can reach me on Twitter. It's at @IfTheChewFits, if the CHU fits. You can find my work. I've got stuff here at Friends with Fantasy Benefits. I've got the pods, the team previews. I'm also in that Discord if you want to jump in there. Totally free, hang out, chat, whatever you want to do. You can also find my work over at Pitcher List. I did all of the hitter rankings for their draft guide. Lots of words. It's like 50,000 words or something like that. Every position, 100 outfielders, 30 catchers. It's geared toward 12-team leagues, but there's a lot of information there regardless of what league you're in. It's not just rankings. It's a full write-up of a lot of these guys. And the one thing I want to mention is, two things. One, I see in the comments, Mark Kiefer asked if other sports are doing this too. I mean, NBA is nuts, right? And we don't have time to talk about Top Shot right now. That's a totally other avenue. Every sport, NFL has exploded. I mean, MLB is out there too. The nice thing with MLB is there's a lot of different products. I mean, while we've been talking, I've been ripping cards, right? Just some retail, some Meyer. Yeah, there you go. There's some NFL. I pulled a nice purple Meyer Christian Pache rookie card. That was fun. And
let's go. Tell me that, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the one thing about retail is you never know what you're going to get, like this gold relic of Matt Olson, right? Like random stuff, you never know what you're going to get. But man, I love baseball players and cards, so I don't even care who I get, and that's why I love like the retail stuff, because it's not a great investment to buy retail, right? Every once in a while you hit something, but I ripped the pack and I'm like, oh yes, like here's a plain old Joe Adell, love it, love Joe Adell. I'm all in.
What does it cost? I thought these was $30. I was like, get out of it, give me $30.
Depends on the pack, right? So like these little guys, because I found them retail, it was like $350 for one pack, and they came with 2 purple cards, right? That's a Meyer exclusive, so it's cool, right? I might get. I mean, I will say most of the time, if I buy like a $3.50 pack, I'm not getting a return on the investment, right? Or zero, right? Because
how about this quickly? I see on the website they're trying to hack. I can't even hash out the differences. We're going to get into it tomorrow. The Mega Box, the Double Mega Super Chrome Platinum Box with 2 extra refractors. Then there's the Super Prospect First Chrome Edition. I can't possibly keep up with it. There's one. One of them was like $800. I was like, oh my God, this is nuts. This is crazy. $800 for a box of cards. When, like, to be honest, I'd rather know that my $800 is going to a gem mint something or other, because I'm putting the money into it, man. That's gosh. I want to go.
They don't even come with bubble gum, like $800 can't even get a stick of gum.
We have just a few minutes left, and before I send you guys on your way, I wanted to give away a prize. We've been talking about baseball cards. I should have instinctively put baseball cards as the prize, but we're going to give away another kind of card. We're going to give away a $50 Amazon gift card. You can turn into baseball cards, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. So far, we've raised, let's see, $5,611 for Mental Health America. Really appreciate everybody who keeps donating, and continue to do that, because we're going to continue to give away amazing prizes.
I'm just like ripping. Yeah,
I just ripped this. I just ripped this Casey. I'm a huge Tigers fan. Just ripped this Casey Mize relic card from my $3.50 pack. So I'm stoked. Don't even care what it sells for. It's mine, baby. It's mine.
Justin Nolte, you are the winner of the Amazon gift card that was gifted by Lou Landers. He was on an earlier segment.
I love it, man.
We're going to be moving over to a different feed. If you're watching this live right now, if you're watching it on YouTube, you're watching it on Twitch, my Twitter, or a Facebook, This video is going to end. This live stream is going to end, and we are going to join a new one. So we're not ending for the day, but we've got a brand new crew coming in here in a few minutes. I really appreciate you guys.
The Toys R Us card.
Real quick, we
I'm
before
like a
you
child
guys
right now. We're going nuts.
before you guys lose your mind and then have to be thrown off of the podcast. Someone asked, he has got a full unopened set of Topps 2014 baseball season. Should he open it?
Joe?
I mean, I love opening cards. So
Well, shouldn't you research what's in there? Right? That's the
yeah. I mean, again, go find the checklist, dig in deep on it. Right? There's multiple releases every year, so you want to know who's in that checklist, and then do your homework on the cost of the
Joe,
cards.
how about this nice thing? You said cards can't be trusted with the quality. Can we trust the boxes?
Yeah, the majority of the time, yes, but from the secondary market banging them up, right? But at the end of the day, the production runs, you'll still find quality issues in them in and of itself. So I mean, it just depends on what you want to do. Find the price of the unsealed for the sealed boxes. Review the checklist, find the best players in that checklist, then go to eBay as a de facto marketplace and look up the value of the raw cards, look up the value of those cards being graded, and do that. If you're looking to see if you can get the money out of it. If you're just saying, well, I want to open it because it has whatever, the George Springer rookie in it, get some bathwater there, then open it up, right?
I could make profit on this mega box right here, but I would much rather rip open the 16 pack, see what's in there, because that's the type of guy I am. Like, am I going to get a return on investment? Probably not, but I'm going to absolutely love ripping all those packs.
How much was that bad boy? Like 250 or 300 or something?
No, God, this mega box, I got it retail, so it's like, Meyer has a slight upcharge because they buy from a distributor, but it was like $43. I could probably sell it for.
Is mega box all refractor or no? See,
no. That's probably like one of the Bowman projects. But
I love you guys. I love the energy. This was great. But I got to move on to the next panel. Make sure to go and jump into the next feed. So if you're watching it live, make sure you're going and grabbing the next live stream. Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure to hear you guys talk about all these cards.
Hey, thanks for having us.